I interviewed the former #1 Geometry Dash player Riot, known for verifying the most popular extreme demon, Bloodbath. This interview was recorded in February of 2022, and I decided to upload the full thing here because there's a ton of interesting things we discussed, whether you're a casual player or a historian. Getting to interview Riot when I was a smaller YouTuber was so hype, and I'm sorry for taking so long to release this. Without further ado, this is the Riot interview. So, first question, what are some of your first memories playing video games?
Interesting question that I've actually not been asked before. Probably we used to have PlayStation 2. We had an N64. I remember playing, yeah, Super Mario 64 on the N64, but that's like really, really hazy memory. But I remember much better GameCube days and like Game Boy days. I remember, yeah. So I would say probably like my first actual solid memories of games are like Pokemon Emerald, Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing for the GameCube, yeah, stuff like that. That's like first kind of things I can really remember well.
All right, so do you believe that you have a competitive nature, and if so, where do you think that it originated from?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely do believe that I have a competitive nature, and I don't know where it originated from because I never like. I think a lot of people can relate to maybe getting a competitive nature through like sports in high school or like competitions with friends or something. But I played sports when I was in like elementary school, but I stopped playing sports in middle school and high school because I started getting into like video games a lot, but I don't really know where my competitive nature came from. It just kind of happened. I do know that like in terms of like Geometry Dash, I had, when I was starting to try to become good, there were some other players who were much better than me at the time, and so many people admired them and praised them, and at the time I wanted that to be me. I was like, I want to be in that position where people can recognize like what I have and how good I am. So that I could say that definitely motivated me to become better at the game.
All right, so I watched your interview with CSX42. I think it's like 5 years old now. So this is, I think, the only question in my list which is pretty much the same as one of his questions. So when did you start playing Geometry Dash, and how were you introduced to the game?
I first started playing it. I was in oh man, I must have been, I think I was a freshman in high school. It was March of 2014, which I believe would have put me at the end of my freshman year of high school. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Me and my friend who was in my friend was in a bunch of my other classes that year, and the following year, pretty much most of my high school like years, this friend was in all my classes. And yeah, in this particular year of high school, we, for some reason, well, I was big into mobile games back then. And I think I mean, high school kids now still do that, but I've kind of like fell off from mobile games. I don't really do that anymore because, yeah, I'm not like out most of the day. I just go out for like, classes here and there and whatnot. But, anyways, back then, a lot of people were into mobile games, and that game, GD, around that time was really new. And we had been playing the impossible game, and we were racing each other to see who could beat the entire game first, all the levels. But before we actually finished, actually, we might have even finished the game, but my friend found Geometry Dash on the App Store. And he was like, yo, this game's like really similar to the Impossible game. And let's race on this game because the impossible games kind of like we're kind of done with it. And so that is where I got introduced to the game. And you know what, maybe that is a good answer to like your question of how I got competitive, at least with Geometry Dash. Me and my friend, yeah, we competed to beat all the main levels first, and that kind of sparked something within me. Now that I think about it, I think that's probably a better answer.
I believe you were one of the original members of Team Geometrified. This is very early in your career. So, what was your experience with the group, and how did the members influence you?
Yeah, okay. I don't really have a whole lot of memory from that because it was a while ago, and there's not a whole lot that I remember. I have a couple like relics from that time. I have like old profile pictures with, I think, the TG letters in them, but I don't. I think that was in the summertime or the fall time of 2014 when TG was a thing. At the time, I was posting every play replays onto my YouTube, and I had about 100 or 200 subscribers. And Aeon was doing the same thing. He had more subs than me. I don't know how many. I want to say like 1,000 maybe. There was a couple other people who were doing that kind of format of posting every play replays. And but he found my video because I added a video on Funny Games level called Checkmate. And I think Alexpain commented on the video and it had like 20,000 views or something like that. And it was around that time and that was like a really really big deal. And I think that's kind of how people found out like who I was. And again, this was in the every play mobile days, like mid 2014. And well, Aeon Air found my channel, and I think he reached out to me, and we started kind of talking a little bit. And that's kind of how we became to know each other. Not necessarily through that video, but it was around that time. And then I joined. They had a WhatsApp chat called the Moon Chat, and it had a bunch of international players because Aeon Air, I believe, is from Norway, and they had some Korean players. They had Viprin. It was a bunch of like the original players. There's really not. I don't think there was like any Americans in there, but and then I think through that they kind of like started TG, but it really, I mean, it really didn't do anything. I think they might have created like a level together. Again, I can't remember too much, but it was kind of like that, and then it died off pretty fast.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, Team Moonshot, I don't think they're directly responsible for this, but pretty much every there's two collabs where pretty much every member can be traced to Moonshot, and that's Supersonic and Ultrasonic. So I guess what are your experiences with those levels?
Well, not much. Yeah, I stopped paying attention to the Moonshot after I want to say after I stopped playing the game on mobile, which would have been December 2014. I think that's when the game came on to Steam. And also, yeah, I just kind of stopped reading the chat. So I don't think I really knew about Supersonic being hosted. I wasn't really involved at all. But I was friends with quite a few people who had parts in the level, like Daddy Pro was one of my really good friends at that time, actually. He made a couple other levels that I've actually posted on my YouTube channel. He was one of the people around that time that was making really hard levels. But other than that, I don't really have any kind of knowledge about the level or people who made the level besides him. As for my thoughts on the level, I mean, the classics, they're like very important for the history of the game.
All right, so at what point in your career did you start to consider yourself to be a good player, and why was that?
Okay, I would say probably after I got on the Steam version, it was probably when I beat Deadly Clubstep. That was the level at the time. I don't know if Necropolis had even come out at that time, and if it had, it was really new. So that level was the hardest level in the game, besides Silent Club. But I didn't even know that level existed. I want to say I didn't know that level existed at the time because that kind of knowledge was pretty obscure, even if you were like in the playing community like I was. I didn't even know levels like Ice Carbon Diablo X existed back then. I didn't even find out that level existed till after I beat Cataclysm, and that's like a whole nother story. But that is like a while. That's like 6 months later. I didn't know that level existed. So Deadly Clubstep at the time was, at least from my perspective, is widely considered like the hardest level at the time because everything else was pretty much impossible. But I would say after that, I kind of was like had some confidence in myself. And maybe it could have been before that too. I remember before that it must have been October or November of 2014 before Steam came out. I was still playing on mobile and there's Neptune level called Doomsday 2. It's like entire memory level, and that's how difficulty was created like back in the day when everybody played on mobile and you couldn't do straight fly and all this other stuff. So people who made levels relied on fakes because that's much easier to make a hard level that way than actually having like hard timings and stuff. But so maybe it could have been, after I beat that level too, because I remember that level was just insanely hard at the time when I beat it. I remember in class when we just like weren't doing anything. It took me like 3,000 attempts. It was ridiculous at the time. But yeah, probably one of those two levels is when I started getting some confidence in myself, and I was like, okay, I'll try to go for some like other hard levels.
What are your thoughts on Neptune as a creator? And like I guess what is your opinion on how he builds his levels?
Neptune as a creator, I think looking back on it, most of his levels are I mean, it's just a fact. Most of his levels are just Rob Top levels with slightly changed gameplay. But that's not to say they're bad. I think they're great. And I think his levels are extremely important in the big picture. Even if they are just like you could say they're ripoffs, but I don't know. They did a lot for pushing the difficulty in the game really, really early. And yeah, at the time, that was such a unique idea. Even though now it's such like I don't know, it seems lazy now, but at the time nobody was doing that. That was such like a cool thing. It's like wow, there's like it's like almost like a revision to the original game levels, and they're harder. And it was just such a cool concept that was brand new. And yeah, I was when I was back then in 2014, I was like a massive Neptune fanboy. I wanted to beat all of his levels, and that's kind of what I was. I mean, that's why I was grinding to beat Deadly Clubstep. I wanted to be the first to beat all of his levels, and I don't actually know if I was really the first to do that. I want to say I might have been because when I beat Necropolis, I think there was only one or two other people that had beaten it in 2015. I don't remember, but yeah, I think that is when I beat all of his levels. And Totu V2 was really, really hard as well at the time. I think that level took me like 12,000 attempts on mobile. That was very, very hard level at the time. But aside from his V2s, his actual original levels, so Deadly Clubstep, because I don't consider that a version 2. And Necropolis, I don't know, you could say what you want about them, but I think those are beautiful levels. And those are, standout, standalone levels that aren't based on anything else. I mean, Deadly Clubstep kind of, but at least Necropolis, it's not based on anything. It's such a unique idea and design. Yeah, I just love that level. It's awesome. Great creator.
Yeah, Necropolis's atmosphere is pretty cool. So I guess we're still on the topic of Neptune. So there was a bit of a friendly rivalry between you and Aeon Air to see who could beat Deadly Clubstep first. Did any rivalry exist between you and Wreckage at that time?
Yeah, no, not that I'm aware of. Wreckage was really a creator at the time. That's why. Actually, I'm pretty sure he beat Deadly Clubstep first, even though I don't know if that's a totally well-known thing, which was also really random to me at the time because he was really not a player. He was a creator, and he did make hard levels at the time, like Nitronic Freedom and the other Nitronic levels, but he was really not a player, which was why it was such a shock when he beat it. I was like, wow. But I think he was also playing on PC at the time, maybe even on BlueStacks. I don't really remember, but maybe not. He might have been playing on Steam. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he beat it before me, which was definitely a surprise. But no, I never really had a rivalry with Wreckage because again, for one, I didn't really even know he was playing the level, and two, everybody viewed him as a creator. So no, I would say my friendly rivalry was definitely with Aeon, and I wasn't really aware of Wreckage like kind of playing that level at all until he beat it.
So to my knowledge, Aeon ended up having a 2 attempt practice mode run on Deadly Clubstep where he died at the first jump and then 100% of the level. That's what he said. Do you think that if he would have beaten Deadly Clubstep before you, would that have changed like the trajectory of your career in any way?
That I'm pretty sure that's true because at least that's what he told me, even way back then. So I'm gonna believe that's true. I don't see. I mean, he has no reason to lie about it. And again, I do remember him telling me that at the time. I'm pretty sure I was in a voice call with him when he did that because we used to just sit around in Skype calls and practice that level on our phones just all the time. Yeah, I mean, it probably would have changed something. I don't know what, because the Steam version was coming out soon anyway when we were playing on our phones, and I was going to buy that anyway. And I ended up grinding the level on my computer anyway. I don't know if he, having beaten it before me, would have changed anything because Wreckage had beaten it before me anyways. And I had always wanted to be the first person to beat it, so I don't know that it would have changed anything else, really.
So when Cataclysm first released, how did you react?
Oh man. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure it released late December, early January, late December 2014, early January 2015. It was around that time. Yeah, I remember watching the preview videos and everybody, including myself, was confused because the preview videos were really shit quality. They would skip, they would slow up and speed down, and it was really weird. And obviously, we can go back now and say, well, that's because, he was G-Boy was doing some sort of speed hacking on mobile because I think he had an Android phone, and that was possible on Android phones. I don't think that was possible on iOS phones at the time, and I'm pretty sure that's how Neptune verified his levels too. But yeah, all those preview levels had that issue. The quality was bad. The video kept speeding up and slowing down when he was recording gameplay, and I'm pretty sure the audio was edited. And everybody thought that was really weird because I mean we all knew about cheaters at the time. In terms of speed hacking, like I'm pretty sure most people knew that was possible, but it really was not like it would become in 2015. It was not there yet, but I'm pretty sure this is around the time when people started to realize that was a thing that you could do, because his video was very strange, or his videos were very strange at the previews. And then the level just came out of nowhere. I mean, I remember seeing early screenshots from, I think, the moonshot of him creating it, and it was so unique and so new and just strange at the time. Like the structuring of the level, there was like some verticality that you didn't really see in levels back then, like the break between the silent ball part, or the piano ball part, and like the straight flying. There's like a cube section, and you go up pretty far into the air. I just remember that being really strange to me, because that kind of gameplay, like super vertical like that, where you kind of fall up into more game. It was very weird and unique for the time. But yeah, so from the screenshots, it seemed really cool. Hell themed levels weren't really a thing. Necropolis was the only other one, and it's really, you can't. I mean, those two levels are not similar at all, really, in terms of their theming. Not even the same color scheme, and well, different kind of color scheme. But anyways, yeah, and then he just, like, the level randomly came out one day, and everybody started getting suspicious, because he said, I saw a screenshot too of him. I mean, he definitely just edited like the number or something, but he sent a screenshot of him having 80,000 attempts to verify it. And again, this was on mobile. Yeah, everybody was really suspicious of it, and of course, the level was considered impossible, even though we would try and try and try. Everybody back then, but nobody really made any significant progress on the level until, like, I think Cyclic posted like a 60% video or something.
Yeah, something like that. So I guess this leads into my next question, where at the time Cataclysm released, who did you think was the best Geometry Dash player, and who did you think would be the first to beat Cataclysm?
So at the time Cataclysm released, so we're saying that was around January, and I beat the level in around May. So that's about 4 or 5 months of nobody having beat the level. At the time the level released, I would say I don't really know who else was really good, because I don't remember when Aeon stopped playing, but I want to say he might have done some Cataclysm stuff, but I don't really remember seeing him much in 1.9, because he kind of just stopped playing. In Wreckage, maybe he had done some things on Cataclysm, don't remember. And I was grinding other things on Steam version, other hard levels that were not on the level of Cataclysm. I think the best player between May and January was definitely, probably undoubtedly, it was Zobros. But he is such an interesting player at the time, in terms of he was so good, but at the same time, I didn't view him as, maybe it's just hindsight, but at least now I can say I didn't view him as like a powerhouse to be able to beat Cataclysm. He was like a level grinder that could beat really hard things, but personally to me, I did not see him as being able to beat Cataclysm at that time. But I definitely would say he was the best player at the time, but I didn't see him being able to beat it. And then that is around the time, so May time, that's kind of when I started paying more attention to Cataclysm, I believe, because I started realizing I was finally beating harder and harder levels. Like, yeah, Deadly Clubstep was hard for its time, but then I was progressively building up my skill and my knowledge of the game. And that's kind of when I started eyeing Cataclysm, like, hey, maybe this is next for me. And that's, I think, when I started paying more attention, and that's where like around the time Cyclic's video of his progress came out, and Gyron David and Sandstorm. And at that time, it was very unclear of who was going to beat it. But I would probably say most people thought Cyclic would beat it first, including myself. Yeah, I would probably say that.
Yeah, so there were multiple phases in the race to beat Cataclysm. I'm not sure if you remember this event, but do you remember like early hacked replays of Cataclysm going around, like most famously Lyra Bandicoot?
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. That's a very popular one, I think. I mean, that video had a lot of views last time I saw it. Rob Buck did one, but I don't remember if he ever tried to pass it off as legit. But he did one with some shitty like Sonic icons. There might have been some others, but yeah, those are very, very, very infamous, and those are really the only prominent two that I can remember.
No, yeah, it's weird. Apparently, I mean, I didn't know about this until I really started researching, but Rob Buck actually has a history of hacking. Like, there's a level he has on the demon list, or the really old one, that's now unrated, but it is mentioned. I can't recall it currently. But yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
Do you remember when Cyclic got his 81% fail on Cataclysm?
I mean, I don't remember it exactly, but yeah, like I said at the time, he was posting all those progress videos, and that was probably why I believed that he would probably be the first person to beat it, even though that's around the time when Sandstorm and Gyron started cropping up, and I actually started trying to beat the level as well.
So, how did you react when Cyclic was first to beat the level? Were you disappointed?
No, because in again, I don't really have the timeline of this, so I don't know what day that happened, but I'm just kind of going off of really, really hazy memory. But yeah, like I said, I kind of expected that. Like he was the first to have significant progress, and I mean he was just grinding it out. It makes sense. It was really the only the only thing that could have ever happened. I think nobody else was really close. I don't even know if anybody had gotten to the slow ship after the piano ball at that time, and he had gotten there 2 times, what? I guess, and then after that, I'm pretty sure Gyron beat it, and then me and Sandstorm beat it on the same day, and again, I don't remember the timeline of this, but I know that's the order, I believe. Sandstorm was 3rd, and I beat it 4th on the same exact day as him.
Why did you start streaming Geometry Dash, and did you enjoy streaming?
I don't remember why I started streaming, honestly. I mean, I can tell you when I started streaming in December of 2014 when Steam version came out. I don't know what possessed me to make me want to stream. I just kind of did it. And, there might have been a reason at the time. I can't really remember. I had had a computer since maybe early 2014. And it was like an Origin PC, like a pre-built or whatever that you can kind of order online. So it was good enough to stream and run games, even though GD is not at this time it was not a very demanding game. Yeah, so I had a computer that was good enough to do it. Yeah, I don't really know. I can't remember if there was a reason. I just I got the game on Steam. I was super excited, and obviously at that category on Twitch would have been brand new because the game was brand new. You couldn't stream on mobile at the time. I mean, everything about the way streaming and all this stuff works is so different now, but got to remember that you could not stream on mobile at this time. You could barely even record if you didn't use every play. There was like, I mean, you had to have an Android phone and do some sort of software to record your gameplay. It was so different. So yeah, the game was brand new on Twitch. It added a new category, and I just started streaming. I don't want to claim that I was, one of the first or maybe the first, but I know I was definitely really, really early into like the streaming scene for the game. I can't even recall anyone else who would have been streaming the game at the time. I was just grinding the game on stream all the time. My old videos, I used to have the game in windowed mode and my chat up on the side, so you can even see back then like who was in my chat. I know Hines was in there. There's a guy called Lunar who's not really around anymore, but he plays like Minecraft Bed Wars. There was a guy called Toxic who made the level Headrush, and there's a guy called Arceus1234, one of my other good friends at the time. His name's Bryce, but yeah, most of those people aren't around anymore. But obviously, people know Hines, and some people know Toxic, but those are the people who were always in my stream back then. But yeah, that was like when the game was brand new on Steam, and really nobody streamed it. And I don't know why I decided to stream it. I just did, and it kind of just took off. Like I would stream all the time, beating levels, and slowly built it up.
Wait, so when you say that Lunar was in your chat, do you happen to be talking about Lunar Sim? Because that's the only person I know that with that name.
No, 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 not that one. It was a different one who I don't really think ever did anything significant in the game, but he was just when I'm recalling people who were in my early stream days, that's someone who comes to mind.
So, how did you find out about Ice Carbon Diablo X, and what made you want to complete it?
Okay, so ICDX, well, like I mentioned earlier, there was a point where I didn't even know that level existed, and this was at a time where I was starting to grind hard levels. So after I beat Cataclysm, now I want to say again, this was in a very, very, very short time frame. I'm pretty sure there's something like in the time frame I beat Cataclysm, ICDX, Necropolis. I'm pretty sure it was for like a 5-day span, and those were like the 3 hardest levels at the time. But I beat Cataclysm first. And then right after that, we had a Skype chat for I think Geostorm at the time. and Cataclysm was considered the hardest level at the time, and I beat it. So then I went into the chat, and I mean, this is an oversimplification, but basically the conversation happened where it was like, okay, I beat the hardest thing, now what's next? And Michigan was like, well, actually, you didn't beat the hardest thing. There's a level called ICDX, and it's impossible. Nobody has beaten it. Nobody can beat this. Nobody has any good progress besides, like, I think Nubis had a 61% active video on it. And he's like, so if you want to do something that is truly impossible, then here's what you do. And that sparked something totally new in me because I'd never heard of this level before. And I was like, all right, let's go. Because nobody had played this level. Nobody touched this thing. At the time, this level had like negative 4,000 dislikes or something. It was just so hated because it was just so impossible at the time. It was on the level of like Silent Club. Obviously now everybody knows it's like an insane demon now, but this is a totally different time. And so I started grinding, and again, I think it only took me around 2 days, if I can remember correctly. And it took me like I think 6,000 attempts or something. So I grinded it out in 2 days. Yeah, maybe my timeline is wrong, but this is the way I remember it. It was around 2 days. And I don't know, that just sounds wrong to me, but maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I started grinding it, and then Cyclic and Andromeda both started as well. And yeah, we had a competition. I mean, it was an unspoken competition, but us three were grinding it at the time. And well, as it turns out, obviously, I came out on top, being the first one to beat it. And then I think Cyclic and Sandstorm, or sorry, I keep saying that. Cyclic and then Andromeda were second and third. Yeah, looking back now, it's pretty interesting because we now know both of those people cheated. And yeah, that is just still crazy to me that, like, I don't know what took them so long to beat it, but it is really strange to me that I was able to beat it before both of them. But I don't know. All I could say is I grinded really hard, and that level is so special to me because Cataclysm, yeah, it was like considered the hardest, but just like, I'm sure you can tell from the way I told the little story, like the way I was introduced to the level, it was so special to me, and the fact that I'm able to say I was the first one to beat it, even against people who were cheating, like, it's just such a special thing to me.
Yeah, so I think part of it is, I mean, if your timeline is right and you actually did beat it in 2 days, honestly, if I was a hacker and I was trying to like beat a level, I wouldn't say I beat something that difficult in 2 days, because that's crazy. Like, that sounds crazy to me. Like,
again, I don't want to say it was 2 days because I don't really know, but that's just how I remember it. Because I know on my YouTube, I can recall very well that I beat Cataclysm, and like 2 days later, I posted like my ICDX video, and then 1 or 2 days later, I posted my Necropolis video. That's how I remember it. So, and at the time, I would just beat these levels and then re-upload the stream like highlight, and that's how I did it.
so do you think that Roadbose had legitimately verified ICDX? Why or why not?
No, just no way. Before I beat it, nobody would even touch that level, and he definitely did not. I mean, this guy made Ice Carbon Zust with a secret way, and I don't know why that secret way is even in there, because there's no shot that guy even got to 40% to do the secret way. I don't know why that thing is even in that level. Probably for like star grinders or something. But even those people, nobody was beating the Ice Carbon levels back then, so no, there's no way that he did any of those verifications legit. None of the, and I'm sorry to say this, but none of the Korean creators back then verified anything legitimately. I don't even remember who verified Supersonic. Like, I think that might have been ZenthicAlpha himself, and I don't even think that was a legit verification. And that's just me, just talking shit. I don't even know if that's true, but I'm pretty sure he was the one who verified it, and I don't think that was even legit.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up. Because ZenthicAlpha, in my opinion, a ton of hacked levels, very likely. Like, he has one of the earliest insane demons, Hazard Sector, and I don't think there's a shot he did it back then. And yeah, Supersonic was probably hacked, and after the whole mute troll exposal thing, that's why he enlisted Giron to do Ultrasonic. So
yeah, and yeah, back then there was just no. I mean, you have Zenthic, Neptune, Roadbose. There's so many more of just Korean creators who did not verify anything legit. And I mean, this is all on mobile, so. But it's like, you want to make these impossible levels, you gotta verify them legit. I mean, you could say what you want about it, but even though they were all cheated, ultimately it's what pushed the game to what it would become today in terms of difficulty. So it's important, even though they're cheated, but it's important.
Yeah, I completely agree. So when did you first hear about Andromeda?
Well, probably around the Cataclysm time as well, because he just kind of popped up out of nowhere from my perspective. He was just starting to beat these hard levels, 9 circles, and then he had Poltergeist, which was at the time the hardest 9 circles, and that was, I mean, he just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, he just popped up, created Poltergeist really hard level. He was beating hard levels like 9 circles or some other stuff I can't remember. I don't want to just say like for sure at some levels that he beat, but I don't know. I think he beat Cataclysm in quotes. He was in the ICDX race, and he also, I think, did Necropolis. because those were like the 3 crown jewels of the game at the time in terms of difficulty, and that was just kind of what was going on back then. But yeah, that's kind of when he cropped up. Everybody was suspicious of him, including me, because he just kind of popped up out of nowhere. And I think there were some other reasons too. I can't really remember, but yeah, there was a bunch of really knowledgeable people in the Geostorm chat that knew way more than I did, and we all kind of talked about it all the time that he was really suspicious and he would never kind of provide anything for us to prove his innocence. And that's just kind of how it was back then. Like, so much stuff was unknown on like how you could cheat or how you could cover it up, and slowly I would be taught like the ways to detect these people. And everybody knows I used to make exposing videos, but this was before then. And yeah, the way these old exposings went, you just kind of had to pressure these people over and over again until they would finally come out and say like, yeah, these were cheated, these were hacked, whatever. But everybody was suspicious of him at the time, and everyone was expecting that confession video. But as always, it's always a surprise when the person themselves actually comes out and says it, because you never really expect it, even though you suspect it, but you don't expect it, if that makes sense. But it's always a surprise. And yeah, that was a little bit vindicating, because when that video came out, because yeah, most people who were good players back then believed that. And yeah, it was just this kind of player who cropped up out of nowhere.
So, yeah, and when Andromeda beat the ultimate phase, he beat I think he became first to beat Cataclysm a week later, which landed him as the first person, like historically, I guess, to beat 3 extreme demons. So, at the time, did you consider him to be a major contender?
Oh, you know what? I forgot about the ultimate phase. It's a good point. Yeah. I mean, he was, like I said, he was top 3. It was me, Cyclic, and Andromeda, us 3. Like, we were, like, the best 3 at the time. Yeah, he was a top contender. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, he was in the ICDX race. He was right there with us, beating all the other super hard levels at the time. I don't know, he was just very threatening in his skill, because he was beating all the hard levels, just like me and just like Cyclic.
So, when did you get first get the idea for Bloodbath? Were you the host of the level?
You know, I don't really remember how that started exactly, but I remember a lot about the process of the level being built, but I just can't remember who had the idea. Maybe it was Michigun, maybe it was me, maybe it was Weo. I don't remember, but pretty sure it was conceptualized through the Geostorm Skype chat. And it was after I'd beaten the 3 hardest levels, so like Necropolis, ICDX, Cataclysm. There were some other ones like Alphabet X, which I would later beat, but that level really wasn't as regarded as these 3. So I'd really beaten the top 3, and then it was kind of like, well, what's next? And like, I had gone to like Michigan before and said, what's next? And he pointed me in this direction. This is just kind of like maybe how it went down. Like I said, you know, like, what's next now? And, you know, everybody's like, well, maybe we make our own level, like a sequel to Cataclysm or something in a way. You know, something that actually maybe people don't know is that G-Boy was actually building a Cataclysm 2. I have a really old screenshot somewhere. I don't know if I have it anymore, but there's like a screenshot of the very start of the level, and it's decorated. I don't have it anymore probably, but yeah, it is an interesting thing, just a weird fact. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And I mean, at the time, collab building was so much different. I don't think I really picked any of the creators. I don't know who did. I don't really know how those people got in the level, but yeah, we just had a Skype chat and all those people were in it and everybody was building their parts. And unlike now, that level came together really fast, like a month or so probably, because I don't remember when the first preview came out. I want to say it was in June, maybe late May, which was not too long after I beat those levels. And, you know, it's only a couple weeks. And I was already, like, uploading previews of me doing, beating full parts, like Crack's part. And that's kind of how the level came together. Again, I just can't remember how, like, all these creators came together, though. I don't know who recruited them or who picked them. But I know Weo and Michigan were pretty much the hosts. So, I mean, they might have been the ones who picked these guys. Maybe I was. And yeah, I was just kind of practicing the level in broken pieces as it was getting built, and putting up the previews I did on YouTube until the entire thing came together. And yeah.
So I'm willing to bet, like, historically looking at it, Weo was the leader of Geostorm at the time, so he probably picked a ton of people from Geostorm. And to my knowledge, the only two people who weren't really in Geostorm were Giron and G-Boy, both who had history with Cataclysm. So I think that's how it was picked, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe. They were also just friends. Like, I mean, at the time, all of us were friends. Like, yeah. So it's probably just that.
So during the development of Bloodbath, I'm sure you got like screenshots sent to you or footage. What were your reactions to some of the parts respectively that you remember?
Okay, well, everybody knows that at the time cracks part was like the most impossible thing in the entire game. It was just insane to look at. But if you actually go back and look at the original preview I have, which I think is unlisted now, but I've sent it to some people recently who wanted to see it. Actually, the original version of cracks part is easier than what it is now. Because I mean, yeah, I did some nerfs on the level, but I actually buffed a lot of the level too. Maybe people don't realize that or know it, but it is true. I buffed cracks part a lot. I buffed the entire like first half a lot, and that's maybe why people think that the level's so first half heavy. Even though the second half is not easy, but the second half was like so unbalanced, and I had to nerf it a lot because Etzer did not playtest his part at all. Nobody did, and it was just impossible when I was given it to, when it was given to me. Even though now it would probably be easier than the bloodless version of his part, maybe, but it was just impossible at the time. So I had to nerf that. I nerfed like a blue orb timing that I died to in G-Boy's part because I was triggered by it because I died there. And I mean, at the time, well, I'll go into that later because maybe if you ask another question because about like the stress from the level, but yeah, it was a lot, and so I nerfed that part because I was just so triggered from dying there. But I mean, yeah, Etzer's part was like just by far the hardest, and so I besides Michigun, so I nerfed that. But Michigun had like a thing where he did not want me to nerf his part at all. He just got really mad whenever in a playful way. I wasn't like really seriously mad, but I made like a deal with him that I wouldn't nerf his part at all. So that's probably why everybody, I mean, that part is considered the hardest now. It's because his part is pretty much untouched. Like I never nerfed it, and yeah, it's the most chokeable part in the entire level, and clearly the hardest. But everything in the first half I pretty much buffed. Weo's part, Vermilion's part, Evasium, I think I buffed a little bit, and Crack's part I buffed a lot. I think maybe a Sonic Man I buffed. Etzer's part I nerfed. Havoc's part I don't remember. Gyron's part I know I buffed. G-Boy's part I know I nerfed. So yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty much what I can remember.
that's very accurate. I remember, well, these days the Etzer part looks kind of awkward because instead of going into the upside down portal, you just go down into the spikes and it like there's a slope there. But before that was actual gameplay.
Yeah, it was impossible. It was not even play tested.
Yeah, so
Because if you know anything about those spike hitboxes for those like fuzzy grass things, it just didn't even work. Like you couldn't do that.
so at the time, do you remember any creators who almost got into the level but weren't included?
Sadly, no. Honestly, I can't remember. I don't even really want to speculate on it either because I just have no way of knowing. So no, I can't say that I remember anybody else who was considered. I feel like those are all the best creators at the time, besides like maybe Viprin and some Korean players. But those Korean people were really hard to get hold of unless you were in the WhatsApp group, and not a lot of them were even in there. So I don't know if there was anybody else even considered. Now, if you ask me about like Yatagarasu, maybe I could like provide a little bit more information there because that level was so much longer and there were so many more parts that could be added. So yeah, maybe there's some other people considered for that level, but no, Bloodbath I can't really remember honestly.
Yeah, Yatagarasu is a bit later in the interview, but anyways, for now, what do you remember being your reaction when you reached Crack's part in Bloodbath? I believe you got a 48% record.
Yeah, well, that's kind of around the time where I realized I'm finally making some progress because even though Michigan's part is now the hardest part considered right, at the time I viewed Crack's part as the hardest because of how much I buffed it. But yeah, I mean, looking back now, it's like Michigan's part was the reason it took me so long to verify. Even though at the time it's not very long considering how hard it was at the time and how no other levels are really verified legitimately. But I mean, 2 months felt like a year in my shoes. But passing Michigan was such a big deal because I could barely do that at the time, and whenever I could pass that part, it was like a good attempt, you know, like it was, I was gonna get somewhere for sure. And that was around the time where I realized, I mean, that's when I started posting progress videos because I knew that was like significant. I was gonna start getting further and further soon.
So, when did you first hear about Sonic Wave and what were your thoughts on the project?
Okay, so don't really remember what time frame it was. I just know Cyclic posted a preview of the original light blue version, but it was like that version is so weird. That version of Sonic Wave is just so weird because the gameplay is really just not good. There's a lot of transitions that are bad. There's like the weird ship and UFO parts, and the level's extremely undecorated. It's just like not great. And I don't remember why he started making it, but he just did, and just kind of came out of nowhere. I do remember he was beating all of the 9 circles levels at the time, and in one of his descriptions, I think for like the level classic by Complex, he had posted like a cheeky little sentence like because that's like the second hardest 9 circles level at the time next to Poltergeist. Maybe even you would consider it harder at the time. But he said something like, "This is just practice for my new 9 circles level," with like a smile, and it was just a little intimidating because it was like, oh shit, that's like one of the hardest 9 circles levels at the time. This guy's beating this for practice for his new level. And so yeah, it was definitely very intimidating. Again, just like most of the stuff at the time, this stuff kind of just pops up out of nowhere, especially from the Korean community, because they were so segmented at the time. At least, again, from my perspective, English American community did not really interact with the Korean community at all. It was like just two separate worlds. It didn't really know what was going on. And so that just kind of happened out of nowhere. And yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
So, do you believe that? Because this seems like a low key thing so far, but considering that all three of you made like future Extreme Demons to be top ones, and I think Andromeda's was the only one that never ended up being a top one, do you think there was a certain point where the rivalry really came into fruition? Like it was you three and no one else?
Yeah, well, that was around the May or June time. Like I said, before Andromeda confessed to cheating. Like that was when it was at its height, and that was around May or June. I don't remember when Andromeda confessed, but again, that was around the time when it was super big. Because before Bloodbath had been finished, I was grinding other hard levels at the time, and I had done like a 24-hour stream in there as well at one point, I remember, and I beat like 30 demons or something in 24 hours. It was crazy, but yeah, I was just on the super grind, and yeah, I was trying to beat all the hard stuff, and that was around the same time. So I don't know. That was just around the time when I can't remember when it would have stopped, but I mean when Andromeda was kind of exposed or whatever, confessed, and that whole thing kind of disappeared, then it was just me and Cyclic, and that was probably throughout the summer into like the end of the year.
So, when Cyclic released Old Sonic Wave, did you think it was possibly hacked due to lack of evidence at the time of release, or did you trust Cyclic?
No, I 100% believed him, dude. I'm pretty sure that level got rated. Like, I fought for that level to get rated. I'm pretty sure it's that version. I don't remember which one it was, but oh man, yeah, I can't remember if it was the dark blue or the light blue version, but one of them, whichever one it was, I remember messaging Viprin to get RobTop to rate it because I totally believed him. I wanted it rated because it was just insane. Like, that was such a hard level. But yeah, I can't remember which version it was, but no, I mean, nobody suspected anything at the time. I mean, that would slowly come later.
I believe, okay, so at this point in time, I'm talking about light blue, and I actually think it wasn't rated, and we're talking about like Cyclic's dark blue Sonic Wave.
The one that got rated?
Yeah, dark blue
Okay.
got rated. Not even
Yeah,
not even the one on Sonix's account, the one on Cyclic's account before you.
right. Yeah, I just can't remember. So I guess it was the dark blue that got rated, but I mean the light blue one again also was. I mean it was earlier than that, and I didn't really suspect anything. I just know one day he just kind of deleted it and then made it the new version, and I didn't really know why. But that was just from my perspective.
So you were involved in Geostorm at the time, right? What do you think the environment in early Geostorm was like back then?
Oh, it was. I really liked it. It was great because it was just. I mean, it was where all the good players and creators hung out. It was just like, and the community was so much smaller than it was, or than it is now. So it was really like the one place where everybody that was kind of well known and well established, everybody was there, and it was great because everybody would interact with each other and mess around and message in VC and whatnot. I don't know. It just felt like a nice small knit community, which is what it really was back then. There's really nothing much else from that. I don't know. I mean, collabs sparked from that chat like Bloodbath. So yeah, it was very important chat. But other than that, I can't remember much.
So yeah, at the time you were in GS, I'd say Viprin was one of the people most closely associated to you. So were you rooting for Viprin to pass ZenthicAlpha during their sort of creator point war?
Oh yeah, that's that's like an ancient rivalry right there. Yeah, I mean, I would say so. And he was, I mean, if you know anything about his old levels, he was making a level like every other week. He had so many rated levels. And I mean, it started in like 1.7. I mean, he was just on the grind. He was making levels and getting them rated so fast, so often. But yeah, I think everybody was in that group was rooting for him. Everybody wanted him to hit #1 in the creator leaderboards. That was like a big deal at the time. Now it's kind of just like, I don't even think that thing exists anymore. But yeah.
I mean, it's not a major competition these days, but the creator point leaderboard still exists, and Viprin is still #1, which is pretty crazy.
Wow, okay.
There's talks that he'll be passed by. There's mainly two people in contention right now, but who knows, right? So, how did you react to Nubas's initial release of Sakup in Hell, and did you consider beating it yourself?
Well, everybody knew it was hacked because this was around the time people started catching, like, especially within the GS group, not so much like the casual players and watchers, but anybody who knew what they were doing within the game. Well, I think this is around the time the Mute Trolls video came out, so everybody considered themselves an expert, even though his video is so primitive and like basic. But yeah, this is around that time. But no, I feel like most people knew that was cheated and hacked. I mean, his scandal, like his cheating hacking scandal, was such a big deal at the time. It was around, I think this was around the same time as Andromeda. I want to say his was almost as big a deal, maybe even bigger how it felt at the time than Andromeda's, because he was like one of the first really stubborn people. He would just not give up. Like he would almost like troll you and oppose you, like anything you would try to throw at him, like kind of be like, yeah, how did you do this? Or what about this? What about that? Trying to point out flaws. I could compare him to like Noctifly, but Noctifly was even worse. But yeah, he was that whole thing was really rough. But everybody, I feel like most people knew that was cheated. I mean, that level at the time, think about it's like Cataclysm Wave, but harder. And the Cataclysm waves were so hard back then. I'm pretty sure that was the original version too, which actually had some like impossible parts. Like the first wave, there's like a half-second wave and it's like super tight. This is like the unnerfed version. Yeah, that original version was impossible.
Yeah, you might be talking about the dual mini wave at the end.
Well, that, but I'm pretty sure there is like, there's like half a second of gameplay of a mini wave at the very start of the level, and it was a super tight part. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure there's a version that has that.
Yeah, he released it publicly saying it was hacked, because this was already when he got exposed, and Rob Top just straight up deleted it from the servers because Newbass was like telling him to raid it, and Rob Top was like, no, it's obviously hacked. So when and why did you start exposing players yourself?
So, I actually don't remember why. Like, it may be a specific reason. I just know that there was a lot of people who were doing it because it was so easy back then. You might be able to say it's even easier now, but there's so many tools you can use now to find out if people are doing that. But it's also pretty easy to do it now anyway with Mega Hack and all that. But I mean, back then it was much simpler. You just use Cheat Engine to slow the game down and fix it in editing. But there were some things that people did not know back then that people like Michigun taught me about. And this was a way that you could spot all these cheaters, and they had no idea, which was the orb pulsing thing. Nobody knew about it. There was people who wanted to splice their footage. There's multiple things that people didn't know about, like saws changing directions on different attempts. So if there was a saw in view when somebody did a splice, there would be saws changing directions mid gameplay, which was a dead giveaway. There was also, if you know the prickly branches that get used in Theory of Everything, those are randomly generated every attempt, I'm pretty sure. And so if you splice, you can also see those branches, they will change in a splice. Those are a few things that people didn't know about that I was taught through Michigun, and that's how we kind of spotted early cheaters who would do splicing and speed hacking, because oftentimes, I mean, nobody who is going to speed hack a level is going to do the entire thing in one go. This is around I mean, again, people don't remember this, there was no clip back then. So if you were going to speed hack something, you had to do it. And there were no bots either. So you really had to do it. So if you were going to speed hack a level that was very hard, you were probably going to splice it too, because you're not going to do the whole thing in one attempt in speed hack. So yeah, it was very easy to pick apart people like that. And it's not like we were going out and finding these people. It was just kind of like, I don't know, it would just kind of like pop up. Like somebody would send me something, or something would gain popularity and I would see it and we would kind of look into it because it's like, who is this person beating this level? And yeah, I don't really know why I started doing it. Maybe I was inspired from other YouTubers who were kind of doing exposings in other communities, not within like this game, but I just kind of started. Those videos are so bad too when you go back and look at them, but I don't know. I mean, it was a noble cause. I wanted to keep the game clean, because before I started playing, I mean, as you know, the game was just so rampant with cheaters. There was like nothing legit about the game before I was kind of started beating hard levels, and I wanted that to change, and I tried my best to like enforce that, of just like exposing cheaters, trying to really drive home the point that I mean, the game was just so rampant with cheaters back then. I just wanted people to play the game legit, and that's really what the whole point was. I wanted to try to get rid of all those people and really try to inspire people to just be legit and grind out levels. Don't take the easy way.
Yeah, so with the changing saws thing, I believe that's how Newbass was exposed through his Necropolis replay. But it feels like the way you described Newbass, you kind of or no, Neptune, you kind of like idolized him, right? You said his levels were great. So did you feel betrayed when you found out that Neptune was a hacker?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say betrayed because I never knew him personally, but yeah, I was disappointed because once we figured out, or once I was taught those things that you can spot in videos, I mean, his videos were always strange because they had speed up and slow down issues. They also had the trail breaking issue, which is a thing on high refresh rate, but again, he plays on mobile, so that shouldn't have been a thing. And that's a whole other thing, which is why I started using no trail. This is a different topic. I'll just get into it very, very lightly. The reason I stopped using a trail is because back then, when someone's trail was breaking like that, which is common on high refresh rate, that was a sign of them cheating, because that was was what happened, from my knowledge, when you use speed hack back then. That's how your trail looked when you would speed hack, and that's why I started not using a trail, because I thought everybody was going to accuse me of cheating when that wasn't the case. But anyway, so his videos had that problem. They had a speed up and slow down issue. The quality was whatever. It was weird. He had a trail breaking issue. So all those things kind of pointed to that being the case of him being cheater. But then once I found out about like what you can look for in a cheater's video, I'm pretty sure his videos have splices too. I'm pretty sure they have saw changes and stuff like that. And so it just kind of reinforced like what I already kind of suspected and knew. But yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because I definitely idolized him.
So I feel like your ICDX gameplays really brought the idea of straight flying to the community. What was general flying technique like before, and were you satisfied with this new technique?
I don't really know. I played on mobile a lot. Straight flying really wasn't a thing. I played on 60 hertz on Steam for a long time too. So I played on mobile from March to December of 2014. I don't know how long that is. Like 6, 7, 8 months maybe on mobile. Then I played from December to May on 60 hertz on Steam, which is like 6 months. So I put in a lot of time on shitty, low refresh rate, high input delay displays. And at least on mobile, there was really no straight fly technique. But when I was playing on 60 hertz Steam, I mean, it was really the same idea. It's just a lot harder to control your shit. I have some old gameplays, like I'm pretty sure Astronaut 13 by Mindsap was the last level I beat on 60 hertz before I switched. And I look back in that video, I have some straight fly moments in that level as well. I mean, it's really the same concept. It's just so much harder to execute on 60 hertz. You really have to have much more of a rhythm, I would say. I beat some other hard flying levels too on 60 hertz, like Center of Existence by Daddy Pro. That has some serious flying parts. Yeah, it's just like a rhythm, just like high refresh rate, but it's much less forgiving, much harder, much more annoying. But yeah, that's really it. If you ask me another question about the whole like 144 hertz thing, I can explain a lot more. But that's it for that.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess about that. Was the switch to 60 hertz to 144 hertz intentional, and did you think that it would have a change with your Geometry Dash gameplay?
No, it was totally unintentional. And here's the story. I've always been a big Call of Duty player, but there was a guy I used to watch. His channel is called The Mark of J, and he used to be sponsored by BenQ. Or even if he wasn't sponsored, he used their monitors. And well, that's how I found out about BenQ. And as everybody knows, BenQ, they make high refresh rate monitors. Well, he had just recommended one of these, and in one of his videos, and I was like, I need a new monitor. You know, this one's kind of sucks. Let me see what this is all about. And I was like, he's pretty good at games, so I'm sure he will recommend something that's good. So I bought that, and that's kind of how I found out about what a high refresh rate monitor is, because so many people didn't know about that. I mean, I was like kind of the first one who found out about it within the game, and it was crazy because the first time I played the game, I mean, it's so weird because again, I was like the first person to even discover like what it actually does to this game, and it was peculiar. I mean, I just can't say anything else other than it was the strangest thing ever, because the first time I opened the game, it felt like I was playing a different game because everything was so responsive. I could control the ship so well. Everything felt instant, and I was so confused. I was like, what happened? Like, I didn't even know that it was the monitor that changed it. I was so confused. And eventually I realized, like, okay, it's the monitor. And I remember at first, like the first level I beat, I thought I was cheating. I was like, dude, this feels like I'm cheating. Like, this doesn't feel right. I'm like definitely cheating on this game right now because this is way too easy. And again, this was before Cataclysm, so this is what pushed me to start beating hard levels, because I was like, dude, I feel like I'm cheating right now. Like, this is way too easy. These like easier levels, like, let me try something harder and see how that goes. And that's how I got into like Cataclysm and all that. But yeah, it was such a strange thing, and I'm sure most people who get a new refresh rate monitor and try it for the first time can relate to that, but it was just so much different at that time because I was like the first person to ever actually try it out. But that's how I got into it. And again, I didn't even know that that was something that would change a whole lot, because this game is so weird in that the game's properties fundamentally change when you're playing on a higher FPS, higher refresh rate. So it's just something so weird that I found out about unintentionally.
So, how do you remember the community finding out about the 144 hertz monitor and its capabilities?
I don't really remember. I mean, I wasn't really keeping it a secret. I would say, if people asked me what I was using, I would explain it, but it wasn't really well understood what it really did. Again, I didn't really understand very well what it did. I just knew that it felt amazing to play the game. And eventually I started to realize, like, okay, this is something that is really good for players. But even like when people would ask me, I would tell them nobody was really, because these are all like much younger kids, you know, nobody has the money to buy these. I mean, 144 hertz monitors back then were very expensive. Nobody was really buying these. There weren't a whole lot of people even playing the game at a high level. And like, I think Cyclic was playing on like a Mac laptop or something. And it was just kind of like that. Like, no, I mean, people would ask me what I'd tell them. And then there were slowly people who would come around that would start using them, like Serve and Mabby, some other people, but it wasn't really a popular thing until people started catching on. And I don't really know, again, I don't really feel like I even pushed the idea of like, get this monitor, this is what makes you good, or this can help you improve. Like, I don't think I ever really pushed that idea. I just kind of did my thing, and people slowly started buying, I guess, these type of monitors that maybe they knew I used. I can't really explain it. I don't know, because I don't feel like I ever kind of pushed that idea.
So I could be wrong, but at the time you said that higher refresh rates cause your trail to glitch out, and that's why you stopped using it. But were there any like times where someone attempted to expose you and used your 144 hertz monitor as sort of like evidence against you, like not directly, but saying things like, "Oh, trail cuttings, the ship's too straight," things like that?
Yeah, I can't remember specifics or people or videos, but just from memory, I'm sure that it happened a few times. Yes. Just because back then the kind of straight flying I was doing in ICDX was so unnatural. It looked like with the FPS I used to record at and the quality of the videos, that video specifically and my older videos in general, the straight flying looked like the kind of straight flying you would see in one of those Cataclysm hack to replay videos. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely a spark for discussion. And I'm sure people had that conversation, tried to make those accusations. I just can't remember specific examples, but I'm pretty sure that it happened multiple times.
So, what are your thoughts on the level 9 circles, and how do you believe that the trend that it sparked influenced your career?
I don't know that I can say it influenced my career so much because there's so many other levels that did much more for me. But yeah, Nine Circles, revolutionary level, Zobros, revolutionary player. And yeah, at the time, really, really hard, unique, never before seen gameplay idea and concept. Now it's so overdone, but it inspired so many hard levels in 1.9 that were so important, like Fairy Dust Poltergeist Classic, which is a level, you know, it's a level name. But it's so many important, and Sonic Wave, obviously, but yeah, so many important levels that if you were to beat them, they would help you in the new game mode that was so hard for people at the time, including myself. So yeah, very important. I wouldn't say they like defined me as a player because there's many other levels like Bloodbath and Cataclysm, ICDX that really did much more for me. But yeah, and I was grinding so many other levels, but yeah, they're super important levels. And Nine Circles itself is a great level, even though people probably hate it nowadays, but I think it's a great level and it's super important.
So, what were your thoughts on the old demon list that was run primarily by Lugia and sometimes by Notch?
Okay. Well, I really love Logia, but that list was terrible in my opinion. It was really bad because Notch was a mobile player who really didn't have any progress on anything. He really didn't play any levels, and I don't know. From my perspective, he just kind of talked out of his ass about many different levels, and he really didn't know a whole lot. At least that's the way I viewed it. And that's what sparked me to make my own demon list. It's because I thought this guy didn't know anything, and I was like, you know, I've beaten so many of these hard levels. Let me make my own version, and let's see what people think of that. Because I felt my opinion was much more valid because I've beaten so many of these levels, and that's kind of how the list that I was ahead of happened and kind of started up.
So, when Cyclic released New Sonic Wave with evidence, how did you react?
When you say with evidence, do you mean like with evidence for it being legit?
Yeah, he had an entire video. Of course, now we know it was, I believe, speed hacked or cut hacked. It was one of those two. But he released it with evidence of a video, unlike the old one. So
Yeah, so well, like I said, I earlier I pushed for it to get rated because I believed it was legit. And that the whole suspicious thing wouldn't come till later. But yeah, I pushed for it to get rated, and it did get rated for a little bit. I messaged Viprin to send it to RobTop or whatever to get it rated, and it did. And yeah, I was just happy for him. And that's when I started grinding the level because it was the next thing for me. So nah, that's really it.
So when you failed at 94% in Bloodbath, the G Boy Blue Orb, what was your thought process?
Yeah, okay, so that's when I immediately nerfed it because I can't. This is something that I'm sure many other verifiers of levels now can relate to because there's so many people who have verified top ones or really hard levels. But I don't know if they could ever relate to it exactly because this was the first ever seriously hard level that was verified legit. So I felt completely alone in the fact that nobody else could relate to what I was trying to do at the time in the game. And so the stress I felt was like unbelievable. And I will still say to this day, it was probably, besides the race to beat Sonic Wave, it was probably the most stressful thing I've ever dealt with in my life. And you know, I've had some stressful things in my personal life and really tough shit happen, but it is so weird to say that this level in a video game was so mentally taxing and stressful. I just can't explain it. It was so bad. It was 2 months, me in the summer between my sophomore and junior year. And yeah, it was really bad. I remember I would stream every day and it was just so rough. I would get upset a lot. I could never pass Michigan's part. Like I explained earlier, whenever I would pass that part, it was a good attempt that could always beat it, but more often than not, it wouldn't get anywhere. And I remember frequently I would get so mad or just get so upset I would just leave my stream on and just go sit outside on like the road and just throw rocks or some shit because I was so upset and I just wanted it to be over. And yeah, when I died at 94, I nerfed it because I just couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted it to be over with. It was so stressful. Yeah, my verification video, I muted my mic when I beat it, but I mean, you better, dude, I was seriously crying when I beat the level because it was such a relief. Like it was a lot.
How significant did you think that your verification of Bloodbath would be in the grand scheme of Geometry Dash?
Well, if you ever ask people who are a bit older, like, did you ever think this would happen? It's kind of like that question for me. And it's weird that I can kind of answer that type of question. But, these things, you don't really think of them in terms of like, how is this going to be in 5 years? How's this going to be in 3 years? I just knew in the immediate few months that nobody was going to even come close to beating this because I knew at the time that I had put in the work and the effort to be the best player and that I deserved to be called that because I had worked so hard. And I knew that there was nobody close because, the only other person who could do it was maybe Cyclic, and he was not trying it because he was doing Sonic Wave stuff. And so I was very confident that nobody was going to be able to beat it in the immediate future. I didn't know it was going to take that long that it did, like 7 months or whatever, for someone to actually beat it. But yeah, I was very confident that it was going to be a while until someone was able to beat it. And after that, I kind of just chilled out from the game, honestly. I think 2.0 came like a week or two after that in the end of August. And after I beat Bloodbath, I considered like taking a break from the game. But then it's funny, like 2 days after I beat it, I was already trying to beat hard levels like Sine Waves, the Nine Circles by Dorami, and then Crimson Clutter. I beat it around the time it came out, like a couple days later. And yeah, those were really hard levels too, and they came out at 1.9 right at the end. And it's funny because I remember I was like, I'm gonna take a break from hard levels. And then just like a couple days later, I'm already grinding new hard levels. But and then like when 2.0 came out, I did a little bit of grinding, and then I just kind of took a break from the game and played some other stuff. And I was like, well, let's just see what happens. Like, let's see who can make some progress on the level, and just kind of took my rest for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, no idea who was gonna be the first person to beat it, how long it would take.
So, retrospectively, we could say that Sonic Wave is way harder than Bloodbath if you consider both versions in their current release state. But at the time, which level did you think was more difficult?
Yeah, at the time, it was much more of a debate, which is so funny. But I don't know, at some points I probably was biased and thought Bloodbath was harder because the whole idea was like, it's straight fly versus wave. And that was the argument. It's like, well, it depends on what you're better at. Clearly now it's not even close. But yeah, at some points I thought it was Bloodbath, and then most of the time I thought it was definitely Sonic Wave. And like I said, I started practicing around late 2015, and through 2016, I have a lot of progress videos on Sonic Wave, on start position runs and stuff like that. But at the time when I was grinding, the demon list looked like this. It was like Bloodbath number 2, Sonic Wave number 1. There was not hundreds of levels to go between these two like there is now, and that's how it was. And it was the only thing you could compare the two to each other. So that's why it was so different. It was the only two levels you could compare. They were the two closest, and there was nothing else. And that's why the comparison was made, even though it sounds strange to say now, but that's why it was made. And yeah, I mean, that's it.
So at the time, there were two levels kind of going around in the community. Some of the hardest demons ever verified, those being Fexti and Theory of Darkness. Did you ever hear about those levels, and what are your thoughts on them?
So everybody knew, at least from my perspective, I knew about Fexty. Most people did because it was very clearly a hacked level, and I think it took a really long time. I think Skyjax was the first person to beat it unnerfed, and that was a couple of years ago. But yeah, it was really just like impossible at the time. And personally, I did not know about Theory of Darkness. I didn't even know that level existed. I only found out about that through like the recent Stormfly lore video or whatever. I didn't know that level ever existed or was ever rated. So yeah, I can't say anything about that. I never knew about it.
So, what were your thoughts on Geometry Dash 2.0 and its features when it released?
Well, I was excited, but I was also worried because early 2.0 levels were notoriously shit with the way people abused move triggers. And early 2.0 decoration was maybe some of the ugliest update like decorations in terms of early people trying to figure out how to decorate levels. It was very ugly. And 2.0 had a lot of weird bugs too, like the wave, your custom wave changing to default. And it was a very strange update. That's all I can say. The levels that people made were, I would say, a step below in quality of all 1.9 levels I played. And then 2.0 would step it back up or 2.1 would step up back in quality, but yeah, 2.0 was just a really strange time for the game, and in my opinion it was really weird. Levels were not that great, decoration was pretty strange, most of the hard levels were very weird. Yeah, it was weird overall.
All right. So, were you involved in Andromeda's exposal, and did you feel betrayed when you found out that he actually hacked?
Yeah, I was involved. I don't remember to what extent. I don't know that I was like a person who was really gathering any information on it. I think, again, a lot of the good and knowledgeable players are in the GS chat. And that's kind of how I found out about all this information. All that stuff was kind of already gathered at the time that I kind of found out about it. So I don't think I made any discoveries, but I was a firm believer in the fact that he was a cheater. And so, no, I wasn't really surprised when he confessed. I was just disappointed, like I always am when people confess, because you kind of always know it to be true, even though you don't want it to be true, but you expect it. And then it comes out, and yeah, it's just disappointing. I mean, I always suspected it. It was very disappointing, especially considering his status at the time of being like, one of the top three. It was kind of like losing a good player to what this was like a seemingly pandemic back then. It was just like so many people were getting ousted as cheating. There's so many old hack verified levels. It was just disappointing. It was like losing another supposedly good player to just like this stupid thing that is really unnecessary.
Yeah, so when Cyclic deleted most of his levels and replaced Sonic Wave with what is now known as Cyclic on Track, what did you think?
I was confused because it kind of came out of nowhere. And this is around the time I was messaging him on Skype and trying to talk to him. And there's like a video that has been floating around forever of me in a Skype chat with some other people when I was messaging Cyclic. It was really weird and just abrupt. Like, I wasn't really trying to push him to give me an answer on whether he was cheating or not. I just generally asked him, and he just kind of, I don't know, he just reacted weird. He just deleted all of his stuff and disappeared. It was very strange. And I still don't know why exactly he replaced his level with that Cyclic on Track thing. I can only speculate that it was because of all the other stuff that was going on, but it was just very, very, very strange, and I didn't really understand it very well of why he would react that way, considering the way other people who had been exposed in the past reacted, And the whole thing around his exposing is still very weird, and I don't really know what to believe about it. I mean, there's definitely levels he cheated on, but the way he explained it, he definitely didn't cheat everything he did, and I don't know, I think it was an easy cop-out to like get out of having to deal with the repercussions of maybe things he did cheat, and maybe he just didn't want to be around anymore. And yeah, it was just an easy cop out to like say that you cheated everything, even though yeah, there's probably some stuff he definitely cheated. But I don't know, very strange situation. Still don't really understand all of it.
What was the process behind making and verifying new Cataclysm like?
Oh, it was very, very, very simple and fast, and I can't really remember too many details about it. I think I just like I was maybe trolling around one day on the Cataclysm copy because I was bored, and I was just like messing around with stuff. And then G Boy was like, "I think I'm gonna update Cataclysm. Do you want to verify it?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I was streaming it, and I randomly started buffing things because I was bored, and I was like, "This is too easy for me. I want to see what is this like if I buff it?" And it slowly turned into this like evil thing where I was like, "Oh, this is fun. Like this is too easy for me, so I'm gonna make this harder." And it's still not too hard to where I have trouble with it. So let me just start buffing other things. And yeah, it's kind of evil now, but it's actually still kind of funny though, because it's just like a troll thing. But yeah, he asked me to verify, and so I did, and then I just kind of trolled around and buffed some things that I had no trouble with, and apparently gave a lot of other people much trouble, which I feel a little bit bad for now, but it's still kind of funny. The whole thing was very fast. I don't remember. It was maybe 2 weeks, maybe less. It was pretty fast process of verifying the update.
Was there ever a time where you felt unmatched as a player? Like, no one is even close to me, right?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it was around the time I verified Bloodbath. The grind through Bloodbaths, because Cyclic wasn't really doing anything. And then he had Sonic Wave later around the same time. But even then, again, this was around the time where we couldn't determine which one was harder, and people would debate about it. So I believed that I was the best. And then when Cyclic disappeared, I definitely believed I was the best. And that lasted until, I don't even know. I mean, I thought highly of myself. I still think highly of myself for what I accomplished, and I'm proud of all that stuff. But I don't know. Even when like Serve and Quasar beat Bloodbath, I still felt I was number one, but obviously I just stopped caring and I stopped playing because I wanted to do other things with my time, and I had a lot of hand issues. And yeah, I don't know. I would say I felt I was still maybe not number one, but there was a point in mid 2016 when Serve was grinding a lot of top tens at the time, and he beat most of them. I think maybe the entire top 10. And at that point, he was probably better than me in on paper, but I think I was still maybe top one in skill. I beat Ibizar Phantasm pretty fast, and I was still on the Sonic Wave grind on and off. And I did have 96. I don't remember what month that was in 2016, but it was near the end of 2016, and I think I might have had the highest progress besides Mifiwi, who I was in a race with to beat Sonic Wave there, and then Sonics came out of nowhere, but that's a different story. Yeah, until around the Sonic Wave race when Sonics came out, I will say Serve was amazing, and on paper I believe he was better than me in stats, but I think the player with true skill that overcame me was Sonics. He was the next person that I really truly believe was much better than me.
When Cyclic had a brief return, beating Abazar Phantasm and New Cataclysm, were you excited about the return?
Yeah, I was excited, but well, I think everybody was excited because everybody loves Cyclic even now, including me. Despite what you may think or what you say or what people may say about like the whole hacking thing, I was always friends with him. I never took it personally, like what he did and what he decided to do. Never took it personally. I always liked him. He's such like a wholesome, strange individual, and he's fun to talk to. He's a cool guy. Everybody wanted him to return, including me, and it was cool to see him come back. Now, Cataclysm, I believe was the new Cataclysm. I believe was definitely a legit completion. ABP, I still do not believe was legitimately completed. Now, people might disagree with that, but I don't know. It just came out of nowhere. Like most of the stuff he does, it came out of nowhere. Like the Hell World as well. And the Hell World, he even confessed to, I guess, splicing or whatever. But he never confessed anything about ABP. But that level was like very strange in difficulty. It was just a weird level, and I felt pretty unbalanced and just weird. And yeah, I think that level was probably cheated as well, even though I don't think he ever mentioned it.
How did you react to Cyclic's verification of his new version of the Hell Zone?
Oh, that's what it was the Hell Zone, not the Hell World. Yeah, well, that level, again, when I say levels are weird, what I mean is like the gameplay is very strange. It's a level that, in my opinion, no true verifier would ever actually complete in that state because it's just like so, it has such ridiculous parts that like, why would you put yourself through playing this like terrible part with bad, unbalanced gameplay that is really inconsistent? And that level had a lot of those parts and like blind transitions, stuff like that, like Mirror Portal, just BS. It's just, it was a weird level. And, you know, I started grinding that level when it came out too because it was really hard, but it was such a hard level to grind, and I was like, dude, this level's insane. But yeah, he came out and confessed about that too, which wasn't a super surprise because that level also came out really fast. But yeah.
How significant of a role do you believe that the 144 hertz monitor played in your career?
Pretty big. I think you can't understate it. I mean, you also can't understate everybody else that's a modern player. It's just like that. You can't say, if you gave any of these modern players a 60 hertz monitor, what could they do? You know, it's just like that. Like, I was on a 60 hertz monitor as well. What could I do? You know, I could do some things. I did Deadly Clubstep. I got like, and at the time that was really hard. I got like 60 or 70 on Necropolis. That was very hard. I beat a lot of the hard levels on mobile. But in terms of, you know, I probably could have beat Cataclysm on 60 hertz. It would have taken much more time. But I don't think Bloodbath would have ever come out. That's a level that took so long to get beaten on mobile or 60 hertz. And yeah, everything after like Cataclysm, I don't believe could have ever been accomplished on 60 hertz. But that's not a bad thing. I think I owe a lot to my basically stupid luck that I kind of walked into. I mean, I just got lucky, you know. I didn't know, nobody knew that high refresh rates had such a weird effect on the game, and I just happened to be the first person who discovered that. And yeah, it's kind of a right place, right time thing. I was lucky, but I also believe that I was the right person to be in that position because I felt I worked really hard to get to where I was in the game at the time. I grinded a lot on 60 hertz on mobile, and and I think I would have done some of the, I think I would have done Cataclysm even on 60 hertz, but even then I think I deserved, everything that came from my grind, even though people might say the only reason I was good is because of high refresh rate. But I think you can say that for most players nowadays. Even you give any good player nowadays on 60 hertz, nobody can do anything and probably top 150. I don't know, like maybe the end of the legacy list. But that's just how the game is now. Nobody can play on low refresh rate. It's just the way the game is in terms of difficulty. So it was the only way the game could go. But yeah, I think it's extremely important part of the way that I came to be. But I don't think that is something anybody should denounce or try to take away from me or any other player. I don't know. The way I always viewed it is it's a tool that can unlock your fullest potential, and people who just say that it's something that's like fake skill, I think those are just naive people who don't understand, or they're jealous or something like that. Yeah, I always view it as like something that can unlock your true potential.
What was the development process of Red World Rebirth like, and was there anything about Red World by Sari which made you specifically want to remake it?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to beat the level because everybody said it was like the hardest level ever or whatever, which is not true, not even close. And that's what always interested me. It's like everybody says this level is impossible or the hardest level ever. And the original, I wanted to beat it by fixing the start or whatever, but it was just so bad. It's like so undecorated. And I was like, well, what if we like spice it up with new decoration and then I can verify it like that? And so that's kind of what we did. It was me, Viprin, and maybe Heinz as well. Maybe. I don't remember who else was in it.
Viprin Heinz Findexi.
Yeah, that might have been it. Yeah. So that's kind of what we did. We just remade it a little bit because I wanted to beat the original, but the original was just bad. And so we remade it, and I buffed a lot of parts because the original, like I said, it looks bad, but also because there's no decoration, you can see how empty the level is and how big the spaces are. And I was like, well, this is just too easy. So I buffed it a lot and changed up some of the gameplay. And we also fixed the part how like the level ends without like 5 seconds of music. So I just deleted a section of the level at the end because that's lazy, just having gameplay with no song, that just sucks. So we cut that out too, and that's how the level came to be. And this was in a portion of like my playing career when I really wasn't doing much. It was like May or April of 2016, maybe. It was like summertime ish, and I had done a lot. This was around the time when Serve was really good. I had done a lot in the game, and I just wasn't really playing that much. I had quantum processing and Red World Rebirth, and yeah, I had really stopped like beating hard levels online, the last one I beat is like ABP, and I was more just like working on my own projects, trying to get my stuff out, and also working on Sonic Wave. But Sonic Wave is also like a level that needed to be verified. So really, I was just working on verifications after like ABP. I was trying to verify quantum processing. I was doing Red World Rebirth. I was trying to verify Sonic Wave. So that's really like the point in time where I started trying to become like a verifier of everything. And those 3 levels were so weird because I would just always bounce between them. And yeah, just randomly I got inspiration to grind Red World Rebirth and it got verified. But it was so weird to me because the last thing I had verified was Bloodbath. And it had been a long time since then. So it was the first level I had verified in a long time. And it felt weird to like actually verify something again.
Yeah, so this is sort of multiple questions, but what interesting experiences did you have with Cyclic, Gyron, Sandstorm, and Zobros? And I guess interesting experiences that aren't usually talked about.
Well, I guess I can talk a little bit about like some things I can remember about these people. I know Cyclic, I think at the time he was like 19 years old, which was significant. Well, I guess not significant. I was in 2016 I was 17. So he was, 2 years older than me, but that was older than most people who played the game at the time. Most people around my age or younger around then. And I think Neptune was like 20 or 21 around that time too. Actually even earlier than that. So a lot of those Korean players were older than us. Although I'm pretty sure Korean age works differently. They like count age differently or something. So he might have been younger. But yeah, they were, most of those people were older than us. So it was interesting to talk to him because his English wasn't great, but also wasn't bad. But he was just an interesting guy to talk to. I don't really, I wish I had my old Skype logins because I could go see our old chat logs. But yeah, Cyclic was a cool guy to talk to. He was really just like a relaxing, chill, like, I don't know, interesting person to talk to. Gyron, can't really say much. He's a cool guy. Sandstorm, also didn't really talk to that much. I've talked to him maybe more recently. Actually, he's coming to my streams a few times last year. Yeah, I would say out of those people, I really talked to Cyclic the most, and even then I didn't really talk to him that much. Out of all the good players, the one I talked to the most was Mifiwi, because throughout this Sonic Wave grind, we originally didn't like each other, but throughout the summer, we had we had a Discord was taken off at that time, and everybody made the switch to Discord. So we had a Discord group, and it was me, Mifiwi, a couple of my friends, a couple of his friends, and we would always hang out, and we would, watch him play Sonic Wave. I would play Sonic Wave. We would play like Counter Strike and like Zombies and Battlefield. We would just do a bunch of different stuff together, and yeah, I have a lot of good memories of him and his friends and my friends. Like his friends, there's some people like Wabbit, Gigas. There's a guy called Quantum Fizz. A couple people I remember, and some of my friends as well, like Squandeer, Combat RT, Infamous, Aurorus, some other people as well that I can remember. Yeah, it was cool times.
How did the idea for Yatagarasu first come up?
Well, I think maybe even before Bloodbath was verified, I was already talking about making another one. I think Halloween of 2015, I posted the first preview, so that's only like a month and a half after the level came out, Bloodbath. So we were already developing Yatagarasu that early, I believe. Unless I'm thinking of 2016, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure. No, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right. It was 2015. We were already talking about a sequel before the level was even verified. And then after the level was done, we kind of started really getting into it seriously. And I didn't even really talk about Yatagarasu this entire time because that was going on in the background of all of this stuff that I've been talking about. But I really can't remember much about Yatagarasu because it is such a strange time in my playing career, because most people know unnerfed Yatagarasu was just impossible, like so hard. If it placed now in the demon list, it would probably be top 75, and you're talking about a time where Bloodbath was #1, was when it was getting created. So I mean, you can just imagine this level is leagues ahead of Bloodbath, and this was my next project, and the level was significantly longer than Bloodbath, many more parts to learn. There were some weird gameplay parts too. We had originally like Cyclic's part was in there, it was impossible, and I was not a big person for nerfing stuff either. Yeah, that's kind of like the reason I kind of just dropped out of the level. I was so self-aware that I had so many problems with my hand, and that I just ultimately realized there's no way anybody, including me, who I knew I was the best player at the time, would ever be able to verify this level. And I just kind of didn't play it, even when it was getting created. And when it was eventually completed, I was just not playing it because I was like, yeah, even me, I know I can't do this level, and I just don't even want to try, and I never tried it. And that's why ultimately it was given to serve, because I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. It had grown into like this huge, like monstrous thing that I knew was just impossible without nerfing, and I was just not a person who liked nerfing things, so I just gave up with it. But yeah, that's how Yatagarasu came into being. It was around probably the end of Bloodbath.
All right, so I believe these are the only two parts in history that were ever replaced in Yatagarasu, but why were Cyclic and Manix's parts replaced?
Yeah, these are pretty petty, and looking back, it's kind of sad. I was like 16 or 17 at the time, so what can I say? I was just kind of stupid. I was always mad at the time. I just remember I was always mad because I was just constantly harassed, and I mean, this was a time when I was getting like 400 or 500 people on all my streams, and just people were constantly bothering me, and I was streaming really often, and I was always in a bad mood because I was just constantly getting harassed by people everywhere, and because I was like the #1 player at the time, everybody, I don't know that, I mean, there's #1 players now, but I don't know that anybody can really relate to being like the sole #1 and like everybody talking about you and you being like the center of discussion for everything. So it's like everybody's eyes were on me. Everybody was saying, and it's something that I realize now, and that most people should realize, that you can never change everybody's opinions on you, and there's always going to be people who dislike you. But at that time, I didn't understand why people would dislike me, and really it's just that some people just dislike you. But I was always mad because people would always say mean things about me, and yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. So I didn't understand it, and sorry, I'm getting lost in thought. Can you restate the question?
Why were Cyclic and Manix's parts replaced in Yatagarasu?
Yeah, so okay, I get it now. Okay. Sorry, I got lost. But yeah, so I was just kind of immature in the way that I was. I was getting mad at everything. When people had something bad to say about me, I would get mad, and it was just super childish. So yeah, Manix one day, he had said some really weird, rude shit, and I was just like, I want to get him replaced. I don't want him to level anymore, because why do I want this guy who's talking shit about me being rude on his stream or whatever just to be in my level? Like, he doesn't deserve to have a part in this level. And so we got him replaced, and Cyclic's part was replaced simply because he was a cheater. And actually, I'm pretty sure most people agreed with me in this thought that we don't want a cheater's part in our level, even though kind of hypocritical, because I'm sure there's other people in that level who have cheated before. But yeah, he was much more notorious. But yeah, those are things I'm really not proud of, even though those parts aren't particularly great anyway in the original forms. But yeah, mistakes of your past. What can you do?
Yeah, I don't think Cyclic's part ever saw the light of day, but I know Manix's part might have been put in Crimson Planet actually.
I think it was in Bloodlust.
Yeah, obviously Bloodlust, but I remember. Oh no, it was Terran's part for the Yatagarasu contest that was put in the Crimson Planet. But yeah.
He also had like he recycled that part for Blade of Justice, I think, one of the versions of it.
So when Michigan took over the number one spot, I feel like this was sort of like the peak of Geostorm in the way that every single top one spot, top one player being you, top one star grinder being Michigan, and top one creator being Viprin, it was all taken by a GS player, which is a complete switch from GW. So do you remember there being a sort of like celebratory atmosphere in Geostorm?
And I don't remember there being a specific time where it was like, that's how it feels now. It's weird to say, but I don't really think it ever felt like a celebrity status because it never felt like that, but it did always feel like these are where all the best and most prominent people are hanging out. I mean, it did always feel like that, even from like the early days, because that's where all the good players were. But I don't really feel like anything changed when we were, like, a couple people were considered number one. No, I never felt like anything was different. But, I can't say I did leave Geostorm in 2016 because the group did feel different, but not because it was getting more popular. Just like there was, a lot of the old people that I was friends with were leaving, and they were doing a lot of weird stuff that I wasn't really a fan of. So I just left, and yeah. But it was never because of like they were getting too popular. I never felt that.
Yeah, it wasn't. Okay, when I said celebratory, I guess I probably should have worded it better, but I meant like a celebration, not like celebrity. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Okay, well, even then, no, I didn't feel that way either. No, it didn't feel any different to me really. Because GS to me was never like it was like a friend group. I don't know. That's just how I viewed it. It was just like a friend group.
so what are your thoughts on Aftermath as a Bloodbath sequel?
I don't think this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like Aftermath at all. I mean, I beat it. I really do not like the gameplay. It's really awkward and bad. And I mean, the decoration is just a Cataclysm copy. But whatever. I mean, it's what we have. It's what we've always had. So I mean, I think it'll be always known as that. But I don't think it's a particularly great level. But I can't imagine anything else being in its place. So yeah.
So upon your return, well, okay, it's weird because at this point you'd sort of taken infrequent breaks. I think, yeah, sort of like infrequent breaks, you were dipping in player activity. But when you returned, what made you want to beat Sonic Wave? Like, what spurred on the race?
Yeah, well, I was on and off, and I've always been that way. Even now, I'm that way, where I come and go. I mean, everybody's seen that last year, the year before. Because I'm the way that I just do what I feel. I don't feel obligated to do anything because of what other people expect me to do or what other people want me to do. I will jump from game to game to game whenever I feel like it, and I'll just stop playing a game whenever I feel like it. And that's the way it was. That's the way it's always been. And that's the way it was in 2016. When I wasn't playing Geometry Dash, when I was super bored of it, because at that time there wasn't really anything else for me to do. And again, I was, like I said, since after Bloodbath, I had always been practicing Sonic Wave in start position. So when I would play GD, I would do that, or I would be working on quantum processing or Red World Rebirth until it was finished. And after Red World Rebirth was finished, that's when I didn't really do much with quantum processing. I really focused on Sonic Wave. There's really nothing else I was playing on the game other than Sonic Wave. That's when it really took over everything I was doing on the game. But when I wasn't playing the game, I was playing like Counter-Strike or Battlefield 4 or whatever else. But yeah, as to what inspired me to come back, I don't know. Like I said, I just always kind of do whatever I felt like. So at one point I just felt like this is what I want to do. Like I have been kind of toying around with this idea for a while now. I've got some good runs, but I think I'm ready to really try to go all out on this in the summertime. And Mifiwi had been having good runs since December of 2015, I want to say November maybe, is when he had like 70%, and he had like the furthest percentage out of most people, maybe anybody at the time. And like I said, we had become friends throughout the summertime. And so at a certain point, I decided this is what I want to do with my time and dedicate my time to it, my full time to it. But then I think, it's also a little bit of like the friend group I was hanging out with was people who were all like involved in Sonic Wave as well, like Mifiwi and his group. They were all Sonic Wave like super fans in a way, and he was playing that level all the time. So I think me just being around them probably also gave me a little bit more motivation to try as well, and that's kind of how I got back into it.
How did Mefue's 98% fail like influence you? Like when you saw that, like what did you think?
So I don't remember what time that was, or if I had already gotten 96 at that time. I don't remember. But I was working on Sonic Wave Infinity at the time with Viprin, and I had gotten the idea to start buffing Sonic Wave around the same time that we did, because we were both having really good progress on the original unbuffed version. But slowly, just like Bloodbath, we were both feeling like we had put so many attempts into the level that it just felt easy. And so we started buffing the things that we didn't find, or that we found too easy. And that's how things kind of started spiraling out of control to where SWI got to where it is now. But it wasn't that bad at the time. There's an ancient video you can find on YouTube of somebody who recorded me getting like 81% on SWI in late 2016. And there's some buffs on that version of the level. And, you know, me and him were going back and forth buffing stuff. So, but I always said he buffed the level way too much, especially the ending. I always told him that too. And I was like, dude, you're going to die at the end. And when it finally happened, it was sad, but it was also funny at the same time because I had told him the entire time. I was like, why would you buff the ending? Like, you don't need to do that. The rest of the level is hard enough and you're going to die there. And of course it happened. And it was ridiculous.
Yeah, so this is getting a lot more into the new age, but what were some interesting experiences that you had with Aurorus and Endlevel?
Well, I don't want to talk too much about Aurorus because there's a lot of personal stuff that went down with him. Personal stuff on my end, personal stuff with his end. But there was a lot of bad stuff in there. There was some fun stuff too. But yeah, like I said, he was in a friend group with me, Fewy, and the rest. So we had some good times. There were some bad times. Don't really want to go into specifics with that. And Endlevel, I don't really know. I mean, I've talked to Endlevel. You know, I don't really know him by Endlevel. I know him by Owen because that's his real name. But we in 2020 we played a lot of games together, like Phasmophobia, and around the time I beat Sonic Wave, we played Phasmophobia and Cold War, Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War when it was coming out. But then after that, I didn't really talk to him much because I kind of left the friend group because of some stuff that happened. Yeah, Endlevel's a cool guy. But back in the day, I mean, the only thing I can really remember about Endlevel was I remember he claimed to have verified Phobos in like 140,000 attempts or something, but he never had a video for it. That's all I remember about him in the early days.
When Aurorus and Endlevel were exposed, did you feel betrayed at all?
Nah, I knew Aurorus had gotten like a high refresh rate monitor, and he beat Bloodbath pretty fast, which was, you know, it was a thing that was starting to happen a lot at that time, so it's whatever. But Aethanatos, I knew was probably hacked just because the gameplay sucked and the level was just weird. No, I didn't feel betrayed. Now, Endlevel's whole thing was in like 2017, so that was like a little bit later. And at that point, I really wasn't paying too much attention to that whole thing. The time when I started paying attention to the community again was around the time Noctifly whole thing started happening, which was later. That was like late 2017 after the whole Endlevel and Male Veronica stuff happened. But yeah, so I really don't have much info on the Endlevel thing. I was not involved in that at all. Like the whole Endlevel Phobos thing I was talking about, that was like 2016. That was like a year before. So yeah, the Erebus and like Mystic and all that other stuff, I don't really know anything about it.
What was early development for Silent Akbar like, and why did you make the level?
So I think Silent Akbar was created even before Bloodbath, and it was just made for fun. I just wanted to make something fucking like super impossible, and I wanted Wreckage to help me because he was like a creator I knew at the time, like the only creator I knew at the time. And yeah, I mean, we just made it. I just had, you know, I'm notoriously bad at gameplay, but I just kind of like made what I felt like. I wanted to make a silent level, something that was impossible, and we just started building. And Wreckage would build some gameplay and help decorate it as well. And we tried to get some other people to help, but eventually the level died pretty quickly because then I started grinding to become a good player, and that's when, you know, everything happened in 2015. So the level was forgotten about. And then at some point in 2017, when I was no longer really playing, I was doing other stuff with my life, like college and other games and personal life stuff. I wasn't really playing anymore, but Aurorus and some other people, they had the idea to revive the level, and I said, you know, that's fine, whatever. I don't really want to be involved. And they turned Silent Akbar into what is now Tartarus, but I was not involved in that at all until the very end when the level was basically completed, and they wanted my blessing on it basically, and they wanted me to kind of like, yeah, they almost like made it for me in a way because I didn't want anything to do with it, but they made it and they're like, here it is. It's kind of like, it's just a strange situation, but yeah, he completed it and they kind of was like, here it is, done. And so the original version of Silent Akbar was just kind of like a troll joke level that was for fun, like early 2015 when Steam version was new. But yeah, eventually it got turned into Tartarus, which ultimately I didn't even decide to do, but eventually I got on board with.
So I feel like the peak of your exposing series was when you exposed Noctifly, right? What was the whole process between, you know, gathering this evidence and, you know, discussing with other people on how to, I mean, you essentially coordinated like a YouTube like campaign to get them out. Like a ton of people posted stuff, Novel Boy posted stuff, other people like pretty much the same video. So what was the process of that like?
Yeah, well, that was that was the craziest exposing I feel like that's still ever happened in the game. And keep in mind, this is like a year and a half. No, this is like 2 years after I originally started exposing people, because I originally started exposings in 2015 when I was starting to come up. And I hadn't done an exposing since maybe 2016. The last person I think I had exposed was a guy called Ramo, who later turned into like a guy who did cool edits for videos and stuff like that. And he started making like commentaries for the game, and then he stopped. But I exposed him in like 2016, and then after that, I didn't do any exposings until 2017 when I was made aware of the whole Noctifly thing, and I was shown some proof by ToshDeluxe and some other people. And I had joined this like it was like a Discord group, and it was this giant group of people who all believed in this idea that he was cheating, and I was kind of filled in on the info of everything, like all the proof. And it didn't take much for me to be like, okay, yeah, this is pretty compelling. I wanna be a part of this and kind of spearhead this, and they wanted me to do that. So I jumped in and compiled all the things. And I think Owen Endlevel was involved in this group as well. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I might be confusing this.
Yeah,
but
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
so they had all of the evidence, and I got filled in, and we had like we did a lot of talking. I remember I would be driving home from like class, and I would be in like Discord calls with these people talking about what happened every day. Like, because we would be in correspondence with Noctify. We'd be like, here's what we have. Like, how can you explain this? Because we didn't want, like, we made the videos eventually, but originally we were trying to talk to him and be like, can you explain this? Like, what is this? Why is this happening in your video? Explain this. And he would just be like, yeah, it's a bug. It's a glitch. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's nothing more to it than that. And eventually we just got fed up because, like, this guy knows what we're getting at, but he doesn't want to admit it. And that's when I really felt like, it was important to make the video and bring back, like, the Dead series, because this is a guy who at the time was so popular. He was really, really blowing up on YouTube. He was #1 on the stats viewer. Sorry, not the stats viewer, the leaderboards in game. And yeah, he was just like considered just like one of the best players because he was beating so many art levels, and he was also #1 on the leaderboards, and he was a star grinder. And yeah, I felt like it was an important thing to do. So I took all the evidence compiled from all the things that I was shown and all the times that we had interacted with Noctifly back and forth, kind of prodding him for information to be like, see what he says about this thing that we have against him, and took all that and I edited it into a video. And we got some other well-known players like Novel Boy, like you said, and some other people I can't really remember, but we got them. It wasn't even my idea. I think it was ToshDeluxe's idea, or some other people. They got everybody to upload the video at the same time, and it was kind of like this organized, planned out, like, I don't even know. It was just like we wanted to get the word out there because this is such a well-known person, and it's important to get the news out there. And I rushed the video a little bit. There's some things I was wrong about, but a lot of the points I made in that video were correct, even though, again, I look back on the old exposing videos, and yeah, they're pretty cringe in some spots, and I don't explain things very well. I wasn't prepared. I never had a script for any of that stuff. I just literally talked off the top of my head. But that, all things considered, I guess for talking off the top of my head, they weren't terrible. But yeah, so we made that video. Then he responded to it and basically denied everything. And like I've always said in any of these exposing things that I've done over the years, it's such a mindfuck because you strongly believe in the evidence you have that these people are cheating. And then just in like one quick, easy video, they can deny everything, and they can like gaslight you into believing that you're wrong by explaining things in a simple way. And you just have to be strong in your belief that you're right, and that the things you know about the game are true, and that these things aren't possible, that the way they're claiming. So I made a response, and eventually I think I made a second video that cleared up even more and kind of like fired the final shots. And then he didn't respond until one day we finally got him cornered, and he confessed in the DM. And then I think we made a third final part of the confession. That's kind of when it all cleared up.
I never thought about this before, but considering your history with like 9 circles levels, were you ever involved in the exposal of the real Sneaky?
No, I know nothing about that, to be honest. The only thing I knew about Sneaky is that he was a cheater, but I didn't do anything exposing wise about him at all, no.
This is around the point in your career where you switched from Geometry Dash to Fortnite. Why did you make that switch?
Well, like I've said before, I always just play what I feel like and just switch games often. And at that time, Fortnite, this was in March or April of 2018. So it was right around season 3 of Fortnite when it was getting really, really big. And Ninja was popping off. And I was playing PUBG in 2017. Funny little aside, I would play PUBG with Sunix and Scullo in 2017 a bunch, even though, at the time they were top players in GD. But me and Sunix were pretty good friends, actually, at the time throughout 2017. We would play PUBG and stuff. So I always thought Fortnite was dumb until, because in 2017, Fortnite was was like really basic. It was like season 0, 1, and 2. And then season 3 came out, and that's when the game started getting popular. That's when I started playing it. I really enjoyed it. I've always been a shooter person. I've played COD since Modern Warfare 2, like 2009. So I've always been a shooter person. I played PUBG, which is a battle royale. So I felt like Fortnite was right up my alley and that I could get really good at it. So I started grinding it and streaming it, and I did. And it was what I enjoyed, which eventually, sadly, led to my downfall of my channel. But yeah. That's, I mean, the reason I started playing is just because I enjoyed it. And like I've said before, that's how I've always operated with games. I just felt like doing it. And so I did it. And, you know, actually for a while, it was looking really good. I had a lot of videos, a couple of videos I did were actually doing really well on YouTube, but it all came tumbling down.
Wait, yeah, this is a bit of a backtrack. I'll get back to that, but I forgot to ask these two questions. What was the development phase of the, I guess, the original Sonic Wave Infinity?
Yeah, well, it was, there wasn't much to it. Like I said, it was just like Red World and Red World Rebirth. Like, I wanted to verify the original, but it got so boring to look at, and we were like, is this even going to get rated? Because it was in 2.0. And so then Viprin, I was talking to a lot at the time. We would call a lot. I was like, yo, what do you think about, like, redecorating the level? And he's like, sure. So we would Skype call, like, every day for a couple hours, and I would just watch him do the deco for it, and I would be, like, playing Sonic Wave. And it was a really quick level, because if you know anything about Viprin when he was actually still doing a lot of creating, he built stuff really fast. Didn't take that long, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And after that point, that's when I started just kind of buffing it, and that's when the whole thing with Michigun kind of happened. And he built Sonic Wave Rebirth because he wanted to kind of do the same thing I did, where I had my own remake. So that's kind of what happened. It was really quick development.
So how about the development process of quantum processing and the verification of the level?
So quantum processing is a pretty old level. I built most of the gameplay, actually, even still in the uploaded version. I have a lot of it. But originally, I think I started it in 1.9 or early 2.0. And I was inspired by Neptune, by his Deadly... obviously, I've said how I'm a huge fanboy of him, but I was inspired by Deadly Clubstep. It was originally called Deadly Processing. And there's some old previews of it on my channel, I think. But I built most of the original gameplay. It got replaced. And I actually did a lot of the original deco, too, because it was literally like a V2, like a Neptune V2. But a lot of it got replaced because it was bad. But G-Boy actually built most of the first wave. He built up into like the start of the dual part in the first wave. And he also did the deco for that. And then he stopped building. And so then from there, what I did is I took his structures that he had built for the wave, and then I started using the structures because I couldn't structure a build really. So I would take what he had already built and I would like cannibalize parts of it and build new parts by stringing them together. And that's how I finished the wave. I built a lot of the other gameplay and tried deco, but the deco was improved or replaced by Heinz later. I think I've always said I think the gameplay and quantum processing is something like, I would say I did around 50 to 60% of the gameplay, and then Heinz did 35 to 40, and then the last 5% is like there's some G-Boy, there's like 3 jumps done by Zobros that people probably don't know about, and some of the decoration was done by a guy called Silence. But yeah, most of the game, pretty much all the gameplay is me and Heinz. So the quantum processing started a long time ago. It started because I was a fanboy of Neptune and I wanted to do my own thing of like a Deadly Clubstep with blast processing because it's like the easiest main level, and that's how it started. And then it turned into a really actually pretty solid level that a lot of people seem to like, besides the UFO part. And that's all I can really say. I mean, it was basically my own version of Deadly Clubstep. And at some point, like I said, I was so focused on Red World Rebirth, and then after that Sonic Wave, I just kind of didn't play it. I think at one point I had like 60-something% or 50-something%, but it's just like it's like the most boring level of mine that I found to play in terms of verification, so I just never played it. And at some point I gave it to Rampage because I wanted it verified, and he was a good friend at the time, so I gave it to him and he verified it, and that's how it happened.
So I guess this is backtracking a lot, but what were some of your early creating experiences like with levels like Sparks?
Sparks was made in 1.6. I remember building Sparks. I remember I was freshman in high school, like I said, around this time when I first started playing. And I had probably beaten all the main levels after me and my friend had raced to beat all the main levels at the time, which I think only went up to Clutterfunk or Theory of Everything at that time. No, sorry, I'm wrong. Clubstep was out at that point because I built in 1.6. And yeah, I remember my sister used to do theater, so I would just sit in like the auditorium because I had to wait for her for some reason. And I would just sit in like the empty auditorium waiting, and I would just build in my high school in the auditorium. I would just build Sparks because I was bored. I was like, it was my first, I just felt like I wanted to build something, and I built it. And the levels, I mean, it's whatever. I have always said in 1.6 I felt like it was rate worthy, but it would never get rated because I wasn't popular back then. But yeah, I think after that I never really tried to decorate or build anything else because I just didn't feel the inspiration to. But yeah, I don't really think I ever built anything else until like 2017. After that, when I started, like, people started asking me to build in their levels, because that's after after the point where I had like, you know, said and done everything in terms of all the things I'd accomplished, and people wanted me in their levels for some reason. And yeah, I never really developed building skills, so it was kind of a bad idea, but whatever. My parts weren't great in a lot of the levels I built in.
So after squad wiping Ninja, how did you feel?
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, when I was playing Fortnite, that felt like I was actually getting somewhere, because people will say I stream snipe, but I really didn't. It was a coincidence that we even found ourselves in the same game as a squad. Like, it was just such a strange coincidence, honestly. And that I even, you know, ran into them, and then let alone like wiped his squad. It was very strange, but I felt like I had gotten a lucky break in that, you know, those kinds of videos. I've always said if I wanted to do YouTube full time, I could easily do it because I know how to farm the algorithm, but I just don't want to do that because I don't find it enjoyable. But that was when I was actually trying to, and I knew how to do it, and I still know how to do it, but I knew it would work, and it did work. And, you know, I posted that video, it blew up, and it was all part of my plan to like try to do something with my YouTube after like GD, and it was working. And yeah, like, but it wasn't planned to run into them. But like I said, when it happened, I had the idea of like, okay, I can use this to like try to grow myself. And you know, it worked pretty well. And then sadly, we all know what happened next. But yeah.
Yeah, in a very old interview, you said that your channel would likely not succeed after Geometry Dash, but it was impressive that you were actually briefly able to manage it. So, if your YouTube channel had not been terminated at its peak, where do you think you'd be today?
You know, I don't really know. It's so hard to say, but I think it was the best thing for me. I really do. But it was also the saddest thing for me. It actually haunted me for a long time. People might not believe that, but it haunted me for a while. This was in 2018. I had finished my second semester of college in May of 2018. And like I said, I had been grinding Fortnite for 2 or 3 months at this point. I was streaming every day. You know, this was over the summer between college semesters that I was grinding Fortnite, and I really started getting somewhere with it. And I was about to take a break from college for a semester to see where this could go. And it was devastating because, you know, it was just all taken away from me, and I was so upset. And I, you know, the entire first 2 semesters of my college experience were bad because throughout high school, I was pretty lazy. Even though I had good grades, I was lazy and just didn't apply myself. And I always just skated by, even though I had good grades though, but I always skated by. I never really put much effort into it. And in college, it started getting worse because obviously college is harder. And my grades, again, weren't bad. They weren't amazing though. And I recognized that this is a waste of money because I'm not spending the amount of time I should to be getting good grades. And it's a big waste of money. So I want to take a break and see if I can pursue content creation and actually make money off of it. And that's why it was so devastating when it failed and when it was, you know, ripped away. But I knew I didn't want to go back to school. So I decided for the first time to get, you know, a real job, because throughout high school most kids get jobs, right? But because like I had such a unique experience in that when I was like a sophomore, I had a channel that was monetized on YouTube, and this was like 2015, 2016. You know, this was not like it is now where TikTok exists and all this stuff. Like getting monetized on YouTube back then was way different. Getting partnered on Twitch back then was way different. These were all like pretty hard things to do, and this is before the adpocalypse and all that stuff. So you could make some serious money. That was basically my job when I was in high school. It was like a high school job. I was making more than probably kids would at like, you know, working at most places that high school kids work at. So anyway, this whole Fortnite content creation thing failed. I was devastated. I didn't want to go back to school. So, you know, I got into the real world. I got a real job. And ultimately, like I've said, I think even though the channel thing was one of the most devastating moments, because it's like what I spent my entire like teenage into adult life pursuing and grinding for, and it was all taken away from me. I think it was ultimately the thing that I needed to make me into the person I am today, which is much tougher mentally and much more experienced in life. And yeah, I think it was what I needed. And ultimately, you know, things came full circle because I got the channel back, and yeah, everything worked out in the end. But it was such a hard thing to deal with at the time.
Yeah, so I believe your channel returned when after the hashtag free Nepesta thing, people decided, oh, we should hashtag free Riot. That trend happened. So how did you react when you got your channel back? Did it like feel real? Like, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, actually, no, it didn't feel real. I thought it was a joke because well, dude, this channel had disappeared in August of 2018, and I got it back in around September of 2020. So that's 2 years of basically a channel being gone. At that point, I had firmly believed that it was never coming back. Not because of something like I couldn't get a hold of a real person on Google or YouTube support, which is a problem, but I believe that the channel was just permanently, like, after 2 years, there's no, like, that thing is just totally gone from like all their databases. It's gone, it's deleted, there's nothing you can do. That I truly believed, but the real problem was getting to talk to like somebody at YouTube or Google, because these are all bots. All of their support forms, they're all just, it's like fill out a form and then you'll get an automated response. There's no real person you can talk to in any of these places. And, you know, I had many people try to help me in the past. You know, someone who is kind of a yikes now to talk about, but Guitar Hero Styles, before all this stuff came out, he tried to help me because he had a lot of connections, and he was not successful. You know, I had Serve tried to help me get my channel back in 2019, I think. That didn't work out. And it really took the whole Free Nepesta thing to kind of remind people, like, my channel was gone. And I don't really ultimately know if that's the reason that, because I don't think mine ever even got trending. I think it just kind of spurred a new, like, drive to get my channel back, like, one last try. And I think, you know, I just got lucky or something, because I'm not kidding when I tell you I had tried 10 to 15 times throughout the 2 years trying to get a hold of someone or submitting appeals, and they all got rejected, and it's just all automated responses. And for some reason, I still don't know. This one try, it worked. I don't know why. You know, I don't know. It's crazy. It worked though.
I guess your channel was terminated during this time, but to my knowledge, Endlevel was involved in kind of trying to expose Dolphy when Dolphy first beat Tartarus. Were you ever suspicious of Dolphy and his completion?
Yeah, so I was involved in that group, actually. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm also not ashamed to say it, because I was pursuing what I believed was the truth. And, you know, people will disagree with me still, but I personally still believe that Dolphy did not complete Tartarus legitimately. But it's not something I talk about because, you know, people don't like to talk about that. And people also will get into big arguments about it. But yeah, I'm not afraid to say that I was involved in that. I'm also not afraid to say that's what I believe. And all I can say is that people weren't there in the chats that I was, and the things that I was shown, and the conversations that I had with Dolphy to lead me to believe what I still do believe. And people will say that it's because I didn't want to like award him with what I promised for the reward was for beating Tartarus, which is not true. You know, it's just not true. People have to remember that my channel was terminated at the time that Tartarus was completed, so I couldn't even fulfill these promises that I had originally stated. The video didn't even exist anymore of the Tartarus challenge video. Didn't even exist. The channel was gone. And Dolphy had a channel that was bigger than my second channel at the time. So the reason I never fulfilled my promise was because the things that I promised were to try to uplift a new player that was pursuing something to a state where, you know, they were up and coming. You know, if they had beaten this level, I had always assumed they would be a new player that was relatively unknown, which I think was probably right because Mulsey and Dolphy weren't too known. And my goal was to uplift them and kind of put them into the mainstream as an award. But, you know, the whole reason it never panned out is because my channel was gone and Dolphy was already super popular. He had a bigger channel than mine. So I didn't see a point in fulfilling the things that I originally planned on because it was just the circumstances were so bad. And anyway, yeah, the whole Dolphy thing is a weird situation. But yeah, I was involved in that and people probably don't know that.
So I'm not sure if you're allowed to say this because this does seem like something that was kind of like kept concealed, but were there really like I guess if you could go in depth into the main reasons that you suspected Dolphy, that would help, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's been a while and I don't have the group chats anymore, but I can't really remember the specifics, to be totally honest with you. But yeah, I'm sorry I'm not able to provide anything. It's just still my belief, though.
So how did you react when Mulsey got 98% in Tartarus?
It was amazing because I had always known and I'd always believed that he would be the first one to beat it. Sadly, it's, you know, it's whatever. It's whatever. We'll not get into that, but he did beat it, and I always knew that he was going to beat it, and I was so proud of him for doing that. But 98% was devastating. But I mean, you got to expect it. The end of that level is brutal, so it was just a part of beating it. But yeah, it was tough to see, but expected.
How about when he finally, I guess in your eyes, verified Tartarus? What was your reaction to that?
So proud. I don't think I've ever been more proud of another player in my time of playing Geometry Dash. I was just so proud and so much admiration for him because he really, in a way, I saw like myself in him. And yeah, still just so proud of him. Like even to this day, he's an amazing guy, amazing player.
When you got your YouTube channel back, you returned and finally decided to beat Sonic Wave for good. This is a huge jump from your past achievements. So going into it, did you think you would be able to do it? And what was your reaction when you finally beat it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always knew that I could do it. It was just a matter of mentality and mental strength. But I had 96% in 2016. People still don't remember that. I was that close to beating it 4 or 5 years ago, you know? And so I always knew I could do it. Thing is, I have many problems that everybody knows about. I have pretty bad hand problems that come and go, and that make themselves much more prominent when I'm actually playing this game specifically. Because, you know, I could play for a couple days and then they start coming back really severely. And so I had to plan everything out. You know, I used to play Geometry Dash like 8 to 12 hours every day when I was at my prime. And Bloodbath is the level that gave me hand problems because I played it so much. And I did so, I mean, I just grinded the game so much at the time. In 2015 and 2016, I developed specifically, you know, wrist and finger problems. And I think a part of that is because of my hand posture and the way I used to hold the mouse and stuff. But I think a lot of that is also because I played the game too much. So these are all things that I had to come to terms with and figure out a way to solve them, because Sonic Wave, like I said before, is something that had haunted me since I got 96% and I lost the race. It was such a big mental block. I'm sure you can imagine, and everybody else can imagine, like failing that is the first like major and probably the most significant like failure of me playing the game. Like it was the first time it was really like made clear to me that I was no longer the best player. Like I was beaten, truly beaten, and it was such a bad mental block, and that's why I stopped playing, because I was like, you know, I'm really not what I thought I was. And yeah, it blocked me so bad mentally that it was like a level I never thought I could do. But everything came together when I got my channel back, because just like Sonic Wave, it was something I thought was impossible, and it happened. And I made the promise, and I knew it was something I could do because I was reinvigorated. I was like, I know I can do this. So I put together a plan, and my plan was I'm going to play once a week, a couple hours, and that way I can maintain my hand strength and not, you know, burn myself out. And so that's exactly what I did. I think it took me like 5 or 6 weeks, and ultimately that's only like literally 5 or 6 days. I started in the September, and I beat the level on Halloween. I slowly grinded. I got my practice going. Played like, you know, the most I think maybe 6 hours one day. The rest of them were like 3 or 4 hours. I had many last wave 90 deaths, but I just kept grinding because I knew eventually that I could do this and that I would do it. And I proved myself right. And, you know, it was like, okay, I mean, the levels are called demons, right? But it's like I really defeated my inner demon of like something that had haunted me for years, something that I had such a bad mental block with that I actually like pulled through in the end, and I did it. It's just like something that I'm still, you know, the level is whatever. It's top 75 or whatever it is now, but it will always be number one to me because that's what it was when I was originally grinding it. And yeah, it's just such a special moment even now. And, you know, it's a year and some change ago, but yeah, just a defining moment in not even just my Geometry Dash playing career, just like my life. It's overcoming something that was such a bad mental block, proving to myself that I could do something I knew I was capable of, even though I couldn't prove that I was capable of it, you know? Overcoming that was so important.
Yeah, as a spectator, I kind of viewed that as like the final sort of like burial in the sand of the rivalry between you, Cyclic, and Andromeda, because in a way, Sonic Wave was entirely shaped by your rivalry. It was meant to both be harder than Poltergeist and rival your next level, Bloodbath. So it was like the sort of like final, I guess, phase of your entire rivalry, even though it had long since faded.
Yeah, like putting it to bed, like
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I only have a few more questions because we're getting into the really modern stuff now. What was the development phase for like the super new like Sonic Wave Infinity by the AP team?
Oh man, that one. Well, you know, you say super new, but that level took like 3 years to make. I think it started in 2017, and that is a long and arduous and complicated and controversial, very controversial topic. And I'm not going to say anything bad about AP team because, you know, I'm sure a lot of people know how I feel about them, and I don't need to be here and do all that. But it was very complicated, and a very unenjoyable experience, and I'm sure they probably feel the same way. And I'm just glad the level's out and we don't have to deal with that anymore.
Was the development phase for, I guess, the new version of Cosmic Cyclone a bit more tame?
Pretty much the same. Not exactly to the same extent, but it's pretty similar, yeah.
So, while Tartarus was a top 1, what demons did you predict would end up dethroning it?
None, because I wasn't paying too much attention at the time, so I didn't even know that levels like Zodiac or like the Golden, I didn't know any of those levels were even like things that were coming out. I didn't really pay attention to new levels that were coming out at the time, but I guess I could say recently, I mean, since I came back in 2020 when Tartarus was still number 1, I knew levels like Firework, like Slaughterhouse, like all this other new stuff. I knew all that was going to beat it. Clearly, those levels are harder, but I mean, when Tartarus first came out and was verified, there was nothing close to it, so nothing really.
So, what was I guess this is the final level to my knowledge that you worked on, apart from maybe like Descent into Exile? while, I think. But what was the development phase for Acheron like?
Yeah, Acheron was actually pretty enjoyable for the most part because it's the first level since maybe like Bloodbath I was really involved in and had a say in things until towards the mid slash end of the level's development. I felt like I wasn't being listened to, and it's something that is kind of like really established to me that I don't want to be involved in building levels anymore or hosting, because I feel like every time I'm involved in a level, the creators or people just don't. I don't feel like I get listened to. I feel like I have valid criticisms and things I want changed about the level, and just nobody really takes it seriously because they don't believe that, I guess, my opinion matters because I don't create. Maybe, I don't really know. I can't explain it, but it's something that I've just kind of realized is probably not for me anymore. And I don't think I really want to be involved in hosting or building parts and levels anymore. I've got some things that people don't know about that are still being built and finished right now, but I don't see myself being involved in anything else from here on out. That could change, but yeah, Acheron kind of just like, at the start it was pretty fun because there was a lot of friends that I was involved with, and it was really cool to see a level like that, which is pretty special to me. Even though it's so new, it's pretty special to me just because of everything surrounding it. It was really cool to see come together, but towards the end it was just a pretty sad experience. I felt like, just for me, it was just a sad experience. Like, I didn't feel like I was being listened to. I felt like opinions, even though I was a host, didn't really matter, and nobody's really taking me seriously. So yeah, I just kind of cemented like, I don't think this is for me anymore. But ultimately the level's complete. I'm proud of how it turned out, and I'm excited to see it verified.
Yeah, so for my final question, I would like to ask, what are some of the most memorable experiences that you've had in Geometry Dash that are rarely talked about, if at all?
Well, I think I mentioned this in before, but I did a 24-hour stream in 2015 when I was on my big grind, and I beat something like 20 to 30 demons in that 24-hour period. And a few of them that come to mind, I beat a level called Dream Game, which had a swing copter in it. I beat a level called Collaboration, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. People say it's the first collab level. I don't think that's true, but it's one of them, one of the first few. I beat a couple others. That's a really great memory I have. I think that's one of the only 24-hour streams that's ever been done for GD, and definitely one of the only ones that's been done for a long time. It was one of the only ones that was done. That's a really standout memory. I remember, I've said that a lot of people don't know that I did beat Cataclysm, Necropolis, and ICDX within like a week of each other, which is, I feel, always felt is like a really overlooked thing, but extremely big deal. Another thing I know I've done, I beat Supersonic, Fairy Dust, and I think Poltergeist I beat all in the same day, if I remember correctly. I think those are the 3 levels. I can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure those are the 3 levels, though. And those at the time were also very hard levels. But yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, hand problems, you can see why. Like, I'd beat those 3 levels in one day. Supersonic, Fairy Dust, Poltergeist, I think. Again, I could be wrong, but I know it's 3 levels that are like, those, I don't know, it's something like that. And 2 of those levels I'm sure are right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm sure you can see why I developed hand problems because I played so much. And then, yeah, I don't know. Other than that, those are really like the most like things that I can remember that most people probably don't know about. I would say I have a lot of levels that people don't know that I've beaten in weird places back when I played on mobile. Like, I beat levels on the school bus all the time. I said I beat Doomsday 2 on my phone in class. I used to beat levels all the time in class, in school, on the bus. And, I didn't have internet connection in school because this is before like my school started providing Wi-Fi and stuff, or stuff like that. And so I would have to beat these levels, and I would have to wait until lunch when I could get access to Wi-Fi, and I would have to leave the game open on the completion screen where the every play video could still be accessed, and you just have to wait until you get Wi-Fi access so you can upload the video to YouTube. Some good memories, but yeah, I've been a lot of levels on mobile in weird places. Yeah, that's really it. I don't have anything else.
Oh yeah, wait. So when you talked about school, you kind of reminded me of that one like pretty famous video at this point. There's this guy who made a compilation like top 10 Riot moments or something, and the thumbnail is like a real life picture of you in school with like the caption like KYS because someone else said that, right? So
Yeah.
what is the context of that? Like what was with that clip?
Okay, well, if you watch the full clip, it's just like an ironic little thing that, so when I was in high school, all my close friends, I would say the vast majority, if not 97% of everybody in my grade in the school probably did not know who I was or what I did, but there was like a 3% of people I knew and some of their friends who knew what I did, and the game I played, because Geometry Dash, even now and back then, was like pretty popular in high school. Actually, it was like one of those games that everybody played, like everybody, if you beat this level, everybody thought you were like
like insane. And so there were people who had played the game, and there was some people who had gotten, you know, a little bit deeper into the game and realized there's online levels and looked things up. And so, yeah, there were some people who knew what I did, and especially my close friends who I always sat with at lunch. They knew I was kind of getting popular, and so they would always troll around and record me for the fans, quote unquote, you know, and they would just like randomly, the friend who recorded all these videos, his name is Nick, he would just pull out his phone and just start recording me, you know, and it would be like unasked for, but I would just roll with it because I didn't mind it, and we would just troll around and do whatever. But I mean, the kill yourself thing is from one of my friends, Xavier, who I'm still friends with. I mean, that was just our kind of banter because we used to play Xbox all the time back in the, you know, savage Xbox live chat days, and so we got pretty quick witted, and we would just say funny shit all the time. So yeah, I would just like, I don't remember the full context of the story, but he would just say stuff like that. So if you can't do this, what do you do? Kill yourself, that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, my friends would always record me in high school. That's just kind of what we did. They would just he would just pull out his phone, Nick, at random times and start recording, and he would post videos. And it's still so weird to me that those videos got as popular as they did, especially considering that video you're talking about has 1 million views and it's not even the original uploader. It's a compilation of all the clips. And it's still so bizarre to me that like my high school experience as like a person in high school was like extremely unpopular, but it's such a weird foil to see like online my high school experience is like millions of views. It's so weird. And you know, one last thing you can like edit in with your old question, something that people don't know about me. There was a time in junior year of high school when I was in a history class, and like I've said, I had a few friends who knew who I was, and they somehow this teacher had heard about it and what I had done, like, you know, how I was posting videos online, and he brought it up one time in the start of the class in front of everybody, and it was the most awkward thing ever. I forget how he brought it up, but he was like, you know, I think he asked me a question and I answered it for the, you know, the class question, and then he brought it up and he was like, you know, I heard from the grapevine you play this game and you post it on YouTube and you're pretty good. And this was in front of like the whole class, you know, and this is like a mortifying situation. It's like super awkward. It's something I never ever have wanted to deal with because I was a super shy and like reserved kid in school, besides when I was staying out with my friends. And yeah, it was one of the most awkward moments I've ever had in school, and it's probably one of the only times I've ever actually been like asked about it by someone who does not know directly like who I am or like is a friend of me. So super awkward moment, and I had to try to kind of like really quickly in a couple sentences shut down the conversation, but also give him enough information to like satisfy him and make him not ask any more questions because it was so awkward. Yeah, it was bad. And you know, one other thing I think of is back in 2015, right before summer break started, this was around the time I had beat Cataclysm, ICDX, Necropolis. This was May of 2015. And if you know, I mean, everybody knows in high school classes end around June and you get summer out. So this is the end of my sophomore year in high school, and I had a biology class, and I was friends with a couple people in there who knew what I did, and they actually watched my videos. And I remember these kids knew who Michigun was. I talked to Michigun in group chats, and yeah, they were in my biology class, and they would just be like, yo, dude, you beat, like, I would come in the next day or whatever into biology, and they'd be like, dude, I can't believe it, you beat, like, Ice Carbon Diablo X, or you beat Cataclysm, dude, what's next? And I was like, or when I beat Cataclysm, they'd be like, what's next? And I was like, well, you know, Michigan told me there's, like, this level of ICDX, I guess I'm gonna beat that. And it's just so weird that there's some people in my school who knew what I did, and then before summer break, they're like, so what's next? I'm like, well, we're making this level called Bloodbath, and I guess I'm gonna grind that out, dude, and I did that over the summer, and yeah, but that's really I mean, you know, when I went into junior year, I didn't really talk to those guys anymore, and I was kind of, I don't know, people just kind of like, those kind of people that I wasn't really close friends with kind of just stopped asking and stopped talking about it, but my close friends, they always talked about it with me, and that's junior year is when my friends actually started recording me, so sophomore year was, the end of sophomore year is when I actually beat all those, like, Cataclysm and stuff. Junior year is when they started recording me and stuff.
Yeah, so honestly, like I haven't like researched this, but I wasn't really able to find any like Riot like in real life clips apart from that one that was like spread by Hydroxix. So I have no idea if the channel still exists, but like
yeah, my friend Nick, like I said, his channel is called like Engine Man 23, I think, or Engine Man. He unlisted all the videos because I think it's like his personal YouTube, and he doesn't want that stuff. Like I don't know, he still has the videos are unlisted, and I can ask him for the link and stuff. But yeah, they're still all there. And I have another friend who, when I was in senior year of high school, well, actually, it was the same guy, but it wasn't so much GD related anymore. It was just like him still recording me and like my friends trolling me because I would always come into school with like 2 hours of sleep because I was up all night, and then I would be like sleeping in class, and they would be like hitting me in the head with like books and shit, and they would just record it. But yeah, those are like more unknown videos because those came out later. But these are all like unlisted now, but I'm sure I could get access to them.
Yeah, that seems like it would be super funny. But yeah, I guess overall, to wrap everything up, during research of the documentary, I got multiple, like, I guess, modern Demon List team members to look over Cyclic's replays, and we currently have not been able to find any evidence that he hacked anything outside of Sonic Wave and the Hell Zone.
Yeah, I believe that. I would say I still think maybe ABP, but that is definitely believable, so I wouldn't doubt it if that's true.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the crazy findings of the new documentary. I even reached out to Cyclic's email for an interview, but anyways, yeah, I did not expect to go through all these questions in one day, I'm being honest, but it was amazing. Like, you went into depth on everything, and you have interesting perspectives on everything. Like, I could ask a million questions, but with these questions I asked, I think we got, like, pretty much, like, 90% of all, like, interesting info you have, so...
I mean, if you have more, I would, you know, like not today, but whatever. I would be willing to do more because people don't really, people kind of moved on from all this stuff, and so it doesn't really get talked about anymore. So I would always be willing to, you know, when people ever want to talk about the history of the game, because people stopped really caring recently, but I mean, I was involved in it, and so it's always going to be an important thing to me. So whenever people want to talk about that, I'm always willing to. So if you want to ask more or whatever, I'm always open.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. Thanks. I got all the recordings through, so yeah, I guess I'll see you later, all right?
All right, well, good luck with the video. I guess send it to me when it's done.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.